Here comes Deaxz and EasyQuix.
Either
Coming
that or
at
you
you
let
fast
it
with a podcast. Break it down. Get it in your ears now fast. Quicks, Deaxz, cast, pods.
Welcome back to Two in the Basement, a Dead by Daylight podcast. This is Deaxz as always, and I am so excited to announce I finally have my first two guest podcast episode. This week, my absolute best friends on Twitch and fellow DBD content creators, Bluemandark and MrDrunx are with me. We will hear from them about their streaming journeys and talk all about the recent DBD Q&A. Drunxy, did you want to get us started?
Hey, I'm MrDrunx. I stream on Twitch. I play DBD. I love it. I mean, DBD has been pretty important to me, And I want to say thank you for inviting me to this podcast. Hey, absolutely amazing.
I'm really happy to have you here, dude. Because I wanted to have you on the podcast since it started. I feel like I say this with every guest, but I truly do mean it. You've been one of the people that I've got to know in the past year, I would say, and I really enjoy hanging out in your streams and playing games with you, especially. We love to jump on the old Discord and just have a chat and just muck around while playing. So it's really cool that we're going to get to chat about DBD. Did you want to tell me, I guess, a little bit about your streaming journey, where you what got you into it, what kind of like got you started?
So when I first started streaming, I started off quite a few years ago. Actually, I started streaming Overwatch, small streams of Overwatch, believe it or not.
Oh, that's sick. I actually really love Overwatch.
Overwatch was fun. I had a lot of friends who played it, and they started playing DBD. They played DBD during the 4th anniversary. They all bought it on sale, and now they told me they told me to come in and try it out because they had a free week on at the time. Like the 4th anniversary, they had a week free of DBD. And the first day that I played it, I bought it. I took it up. It was 50% off. It was $14. I was like, that's a steal. This game is fun.
You were just like, yes, this is it. This is for me. And that's not even that long ago. 4th anniversary,
not that
that's
long ago. No,
you're like very good at the game, and you've not even been playing for that long. That's really cool. I guess so. You started off with Overwatch for a little bit, and then straight into DBD, and then that's been your main focus. Did you play Killer, Survivor? What did you start with, or have you always played both?
I started with Killer. I mean, I might play a lot of Survivor now, but I started the game playing Killer because when I used to play Survivor, I didn't think that I was the best at Survivor. I guess everyone feels like that, but I loved playing Killer. Killer was definitely my favorite. But as the time went on, I started maining Survivor a lot more, so Survivor started becoming my main focus. But now it's 50-50, hey. Best of both.
Did you have
worlds.
a favorite killer when you first started, or?
Believe it or not, I was I mained Legion and Spirit when I first started.
Wow.
Yeah.
You enjoy a bit of pain then.
I mean, I wish I could say yeah, but I stopped playing them because of other people were just, when I started hearing people didn't enjoy versing them, I was nope.
That's actually true. Legion and Spirit are like the two ones that people are like,
oh yeah,
I absolutely snore going against these people. I don't mind going against the Legion. I don't mind the stab.
Legion's fine, yeah.
Spirit was a bit like meh. Do you have a favorite one now that you prefer? Or do you kind of play everyone?
I kind of play everyone, but I would say I'm a Blight, Nurse, and a Huntress main mostly. I mean, isn't everyone nowadays?
I feel like, if you want to be at if you want to have any kind of success in killing people, probably have to play some killers that are going to be able to do that. I guess kind of with streaming, like, was it something that you'd always wanted to do? I always love to find out with people that I have on the podcast about, kind of why they got into it, or kind of what drove them to it. Was it just that you were playing Overwatch one day and then you were like, well, I may as well stream, or was there someone's like, hey, you're really good at this game, like you should play online on stream it?
I was in like a community of people who, like, a lot of people in this community stream, so I thought one day I'd give it a crack, and I got a lot of support from them, which was like, which probably like made me keep it up, keep streaming, because I wasn't someone who just started with like 1 or 2 people. wasn't that small, but you know, maybe I had like
Yeah.
five or six people in my stream at a time, and those people showing that support really gave me the confidence to stream, because I don't have trouble hitting that go live button, but I'm a very isolated person. I like to keep to myself quite often. Like if I'm
Okay.
like, yeah, sometimes I'll be playing a game and someone will be like, "Why don't you just stream? Like, you know, you're playing a single player game. Why don't you just stream it?" And you know, I like to keep to myself when I play those games. Like, you know, I'm chilling, I'm vibing. I might be in voice chat with some friends when I'm playing it, but I don't know. I feel like DBD is something that I can really stream because I feel like I have a lot of knowledge of it. And if anyone
Yeah.
wants to come, yeah, if anyone wants to come around and, you know, ask questions or, you know, anything, I feel like I might be able to give them some info, give them some guidance, and yeah.
No, that's really cool. It's definitely single player games are definitely really hard to stream. I know when I first started making content on YouTube back in the day, I was playing a lot of Call of Duty, and then I tried to get into doing like story games with just like random indie games, and it feels so weird because you feel like people are watching the game, but you also have to you're creating the content like raw from like if you're playing, let's say, like Batman Arkham Asylum or something like that, like the game is cool, but you're also creating content out of a single player story game
Yeah.
that's potentially pretty like linear and driven, and it's hard to do that unless you're a certain kind of person, or like everyone gets better at it and learns. So yeah, I definitely understand where you're coming from there. It's definitely harder to do it on the single player games, and I think variety is something that everyone kind of wants to get into
Yeah.
a little bit more as they stream more and more, and honestly you do get better at streaming. Like I talked to Running Man on one of my podcasts, and you do get better at streaming. He is someone that has said, like, I sucked at streaming when I started, and I got better. I understood better. So yeah, it's cool that you have, and there's nothing wrong with keeping those things yourself either. Like,
Yeah.
having a chill time where you want to play a single player game offline, because I think if we all fall into that trap when we play a lot of we play a lot of online games or play a lot of games, and then we feel guilty. I was just reading someone's Twitter post the other day. They were saying they wanted to play the new Pokemon, and they were feeling guilty because they were like, "Oh, this is content. Like, this is a game that I should stream."
Yep.
And you feel guilty because you're like, "Well, I just want to play it for myself. I just want to enjoy it, like sit in bed and play it, or enjoy that."
100%, 100%.
I guess with you and starting out, do you have any like goals for this year? We're obviously entering into a new year, 2022. Do you have any goals, or I guess some advice for anyone that's like wanting to start? Because there's probably going to be a lot of people that got like Christmas presents and got like streaming stuff, and they maybe don't know how to. Yeah, they don't know what to do. Like, is there any like advice you would have for someone like that's newer that wants to go?
I have a very short-term goal right now, and it's actually coming up. It's my biggest goal right now is to hit 500 followers, and right now I'm three
Oh,
followers.
hell yeah.
I'm 3 followers off of that, so that's a very short-term goal. But that was the biggest goal I had for this year, and I saw it. I saw it coming because at the end of the year I was at 480 followers. So let's go.
Let's go. All right. Well, if you're listening to the podcast right now and you don't know who MrDrunx is, twitch.tv/MrDrunx. Go and give him a follow. 3 followers off. We can get him there. We have a lot of people that listen regularly, so if they don't know who you are, then they should definitely go and check you out. Early plug in the podcast, and then go hit that goal, and then you're going to be able to create another goal straight after that. So
Yeah.
that's awesome.
750 next milestone. Hey?
Yeah, there you go. It's already in the pipeline.
as for tips and advice, I'd say enjoy it. Don't treat it like a job. Don't treat it as an income. Treat it as something that you can do. Like if you're playing DVD or whatever, any other game you're playing, if you're playing it in Discord with your friends, if you can do that, then you can stream to people, right? And it's not like you can't.
I mean, yeah, for sure.
It's not like you can't just sit in Discord with your friends while you stream too, as long as everyone's tame,
Yeah, depending on your the rating of your stream.
Depending on the people you stand with. But yeah, no, I think I enjoy it. Don't treat it as an income. Don't treat it as a job. love it, and
I think that's fantastic advice.
get into
I
it.
would definitely agree.
A big
I agree with that.
another big thing to do that I do, and I know a lot of other people do, is hide your numbers. Don't spend your stream staring at your numbers. That no one likes. If you see that you've only got one person in your stream or no people in your stream, and you're sitting there all sad and slouched and no one wants to watch me. No one's gonna come in and watch you. No one's gonna watch you doing that. So hide your numbers. Always act like there's people there. Eventually, people start coming to chat, and you'll love conversing with them. They'll love conversing with you. They'll love watching you. You'll always have some.
Exactly.
Everyone has something to bring to the table.
Exactly. Literally, streaming is for everyone. Numbers are delayed anyway, so they can be delayed by a couple of minutes. So you see one pop up in the stream, and then you're not talking. Then you only just start talking. That person might have left a minute and a half ago.
Exactly.
And it's fun anyway when you learn to talk to yourself, because I actually was talking about this the other day. I realized that there's a lot of people that don't actually have that inner monologue where they talk through stuff in their brain to themselves, or they have the voice in their head. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can ask you guys if that's something that you have, but yeah, I know definitely when I read something, I read it out in my own voice in my head, and I have conversations in my own head about decisions that I'm making. So it can even help with that kind of stuff. So yeah, just giving it a go is definitely the good advice. We've got another person with us this week, don't we, Drunxy? I feel like we should bring them in, because they're sitting there quietly, just waiting to spread all of their knowledge and all of their goodness with us. Mr. Bluemandark is here with us as well. Did you want to say hello, Blue, and tell us a little bit about yourself as well?
Hi, my name's Bluemandark. I'm a streamer on Twitch, and thank you for having me on the podcast, Deaxzy. It's a nice honor to be able to be here and share some knowledge and have a chat with you. It's great.
Honestly, again, I couldn't think of two better people to have on at the same time. My first official time of having two people on the podcast at the same time, that as well as myself. So this is the first time we've had three on the podcast. So it's going to be an interesting one. I'm sure there's going to be lots to talk about and lots to share. But this is the official two in the you are now my official two in the basement now. The title finally comes true of the podcast. But yeah, you guys keep saying thank you to me. I thank you for wanting to come on, and I know it can be scary to come on and talk, even though we're just in our offices or in our rooms talking to a microphone right now. Like, we're not looking at each other on video or anything, but it's still pretty scary. So I thank you guys for putting yourself out there. I would love to hear a little bit about kind of your streaming journey as well, Blue. I'm sure everyone would as well. Kind of what you started with, and why you kind of jumped into it as well.
So I started my streaming journey back in 2011, 2012.
It's an OG.
Streaming. I actually made my account one day after Twitch TV became a thing, because I had a Justin TV account. And I went to log in, and it was no longer there. And then there was Twitch. But are you
just really ahead of the curve, or are you just really old?
I'm just really old. I remember so I started streaming because I was playing StarCraft 2. So back in the day, I was playing StarCraft 2 with friends, and they were like, why don't you just stream it so we can all see your point of view? Because Discord wasn't around then, and Skype was messy to try and use. So they were like, just stream it. And I did a few StarCraft tournaments among friends. So there was a group of 8 of us that would compete in StarCraft 2. And
that's super cool.
Yeah, it was really chill. And then I got super into Twitch. I remember my first stream I ever started watching was Day 9 TV. Obviously because of StarCraft 2 and Brood Wars and that kind of stuff. So I started watching that, and started the journey then. Super inconsistent with streaming. Only used to stream to friends, so it was whenever we were doing anything they wanted to watch, I'd stream. And
I kind of feel like that's what Twitch was like back then. It was very much when Twitch like changed from Justin TV. Not that I was involved in it back then, but the people I've talked to and heard talk about it, it was one of those things where you would just stream to your friends because they wanted to see your perspective. Like you said, it wasn't really a job thing. It wasn't really a career thing. It was just people loving games and streaming them.
Yeah, it was more like a fun hobby, or like just streaming to friends. It wasn't really something that I thought of as doing as a career back then.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I was just super inconsistent throughout the years. But it was a lot of fun. And after StarCraft 2, I moved on to League of Legends and a bit of World of Warcraft.
Okay.
And then
what drew you to DBD then?
I actually started playing DBD in 2016. I used to be a moderator for Loserfruit, and she got DBD, and myself and a few of the other members of the community got DBD because of her, and we used to group up in games and try and snipe Loserfruit, which was probably...
Drunx, is this a flex? Is this a flex from Blue right now?
I think this is a flex.
It was a very different game back then, though. Obviously, you had like...
Hey guys, I used to mod for Loserfruit and and play games.
Yeah. I'm not meaning to flex, but like that's how I started.
It's cool.
That's how I started in DBD, but I think I only played like 300 hours or something back in 2016, and then I stopped for years. I don't know why. I just think I didn't really have friends or community that was based around DBD, so I stopped. And I came back to it with the like Drunxy in the 4th year anniversary.
Yep.
A few friends were playing it, and they were like, "Why don't you just come join in and play some games?" I was like, "Well, I've got the game. I just haven't played it in years, but sure."
Yeah.
Came back and did the 4th year anniversary. Got my first Prestige 3 character, and yeah, I haven't stopped since then.
Who was it? Who was your first one?
Dwight. Dwight was my main back in 2016. He's still my main.
I'd like to say
that actually makes sense. Yeah.
I'd like to say I was surprised, but nah.
No. What about you, Drunx? Who was your first P3?
Cheryl, surprisingly.
Really?
They came out 4th year, and she was my first P3 all perks. P3, you know. Yeah.
Mine was the entity itself, Nia. Nia was my first P3. So a survivor randomly, even though I mainly played killer. But yeah. What about you, Blue? Did you said your friends asked you to come back? Does that mean you started as like survivor preference, or you played both sides?
I was mostly survival when I came back. I did start maining killer as soon as Blight came out, because he was a killer that was really interesting to me, and it's still my main nowadays. But yeah, he took me away from the survivor side, because when I first came back, I was, I guess, super scared, urban evading. I remember urban evading around for probably about the first 50 to 100 hours of me coming back to DBD, just trying to be sneaky.
I love that.
And then, Blight came out, started playing a lot more Blight, started making a lot more friends in the community, and then eventually, started streaming, and now we're here.
Awesome. That's so cool. It's so funny that you guys both, like, obviously I know that you guys both love playing Blight, but which is quite hilarious, because Blight is one of the killers that I dislike going against the most, because basically free hit simulator. Am I right?
Oh yeah. No.
This is debatable.
I'm never gonna win this argument.
So,
Let's just move on.
I refuse to answer any questions about my lawyer present.
Yeah. I guess I will ask you the same thing, Blue, because obviously Drunxy, hopefully by this time people have listened to the podcast already. Once this comes out, and Drunxy will already be at that 500 mark, but you've also got a pretty impressive feat going on at the moment in terms of your stream. So do you have any, I guess, goals? You can tell us what that is, and then if you have any goals or advice as well for newer people that are wanting to jump on Twitch and start streaming?
Yep. So at the moment, I am doing a daily streak of streaming every day. We're currently
to clarify, that's a daily streak of streaming, right? You're not doing a daily streak of like running around without your clothes on.
Yes, I'm not running around without my clothes on. I do mean streaming. So currently we're at like day 296 in a row of streaming daily, with the goal of going for a year and then seeing where to go from there. Other goals is probably reach.
It's so impressive.
Yeah, it's
almost the whole. You're almost to a year. Like that is literally like without a day off. That's.
I mean,
very,
some days are
you
easy.
said you were.
Some days are easier than others, but yeah. It's,
you said you were inconsistent, and then you literally 180 flipped it and went from being inconsistent to I'm going to be the most consistent person that exists and just stream for an entire year.
I think because I know myself, when I first came back to streaming, I was like, I'm going to set a goal of doing 14 days in a row just to build consistency. And we got to day 13 and everyone's like, go for like double it, do 28 days. I was like, okay, I'll do 28.
I think
and then they were
remember
like,
that.
actually,
I
do
do.
30. Do 30. Why are you doing 28? 28's a weird number. And then we got to like day 29, 30. Everyone's like, go for 69. And after 69 days, because funny number.
Yeah.
And then we hit 100 days after that. We just kept powering through. Did my first ever subathon on day 100. And then, yeah, we just kept going. Like, I feel like if I stop, I don't know how long I would stop for. So by being consistent and streaming every day, I don't give myself the option to kind of be like, oh, well, I'll do it tomorrow. And then tomorrow becomes next week, becomes next month. So by doing it every day, it just keeps me consistent and keeps me going because I really do enjoy it. And I kind of like the fact that it brings a sense of normality to my community because they know that every day I'm going to be there no matter what. So
Awesome. That's real. Again, it's really impressive as someone that has been on a streaming break, and has been doing that kind of thing that you've said where you are like, oh, tomorrow or maybe next week or the next day. I definitely understand that when you do take that little break or take a break, you kind of stop. And I heard something yesterday, actually. I was watching a TV show and they said something along the lines of like, basically motion breeds motion. Where if you're in motion, you'll continue to be in motion. If you stop, then if you stop, then you're gonna probably keep stopping. So it's harder to get started if you're not moving.
yeah, it's definitely harder to keep that momentum going as soon as you stop because you kind of just have to build yourself back up to getting it rolling again. So yeah, that definitely makes sense.
Sure. I mean, do you have any advice for newer people other than streaming for 365 days straight? Is there any other advice maybe for someone new that you might have?
I think having some goals in mind. What do you want to do streaming for? What is, if you're gonna have fun or if you're looking at doing it as a career? I think definitely whichever way you go, being consistent with it definitely helps. Even if it's you're doing 1 or 2 days a week, just being consistent on the time and day that you choose to be able to help create yourself a community because they know on those certain days at that time you're going to be live. And I feel like that's something that's been around in Twitch for a very long time. The people who are consistent and have their schedule set up generally tend to do better because everyone knows that that's the time and day that person's going live. They can expect to see you then. So I feel like that's probably the biggest bit of advice I can give to someone who's new.
No, I agree because the longer I've been around on Twitch and that Twitch is kind of evolving, it's, I think I said this when I was talking to Val and we were talking about how your Twitch, it's literally called a channel. And we were talking about how Twitch is almost like TV now because I don't really watch TV. I watch like Netflix a little bit, but mostly watching Twitch streams. And if I wanted to find my favorite TV show when I was a kid and I was like, I really love watching. I think the example I used was like Law and Order SVU or something like that. And I was like, okay, it's on a Thursday at 9:00 every week. I know that I can tune in and watch it. But then imagine if it randomly was on at like Tuesday at 5:00 in the afternoon, and then the next week it was on at like 3 a.m. on like a Friday. I was about to make up a day then. I was going to just say like Four's Day or something, and like just use a real day. Why am I trying to make up a day? But yeah, like if it was on at 3 a.m. on a Friday, then it's going to be harder for me to watch that show. Yeah. So I kind of was like, well, think of it the same thing with your stream. Like you just said, if people know that you're going to be on at 9:00 every day, or 9:00 2 days a week, or 6:00, whatever time it might be, it doesn't. You don't even have to be playing the same game, but as long as they know you're on there, and they can make a decision and know that they can come. So yeah, definitely, you guys are given both really good advice. It seems like really obvious advice, and people might be sitting here thinking, oh yeah, this is something that gets talked about every week whenever they talk about Twitch and things like that. But it's something that I think needs to just be ingrained and like pushed into people's minds, because it might seem really obvious to us, but we're all already streaming. So for someone that's not, they might not even think of it that way. They might think, oh, I'm going to annoy people if I'm streamed 7 days a week, because people are going to be like, I'm sick of this person. Like, yes, that can happen. It can be good to leave people wanting a little bit more sometimes, but people just won't come to the stream if they don't want to watch you on that day, and that's completely fine. Yeah. So, yeah, I appreciate you guys giving a little bit of advice there, but I'm gonna do something because I know you guys love just getting randomly thrown with a question, haven't prepared anything. But if there is anyone that's randomly stumbled upon a Dead by Daylight podcast that is like not too familiar with Dead by Daylight or has never played it, I don't know why you would be here if you probably never played it, but maybe you're just getting into it. Drunx, I'll go to you first. I guess one tiny thing about why should someone jump in and start playing DBD? Like I guess maybe the funnest part or best thing for you.
I think well, DBD has something for everyone. Like, if you don't have many friends who play video games, you can go and play Killer, and that's not. And even if you're not playing Killer, solo queue in DBD as Survivor isn't exactly like the worst thing. I mean, there is worse things out there, and there is issues of it. I mean, I'm not gonna say there's no issues of it, but I don't know. I have a lot of fun when I solo queue, and I have a lot of fun just playing Killer. But another thing is, I love playing DBD with my friends. I think getting together, having a laugh, having fun. We're not even doing the objective, and we're just like messing around, and the killer's killing us. And we're just having a little bit of fun. We're not bullying the killer, but we're just being silly with head-ons or flashlights and fun perk combinations. I don't know. I think DBD is just if people are just getting into it, I'd say there's something for them. There is always going to be something for them to enjoy. People who have played the game for so long and fallen out of love with it, I feel like it's the lack of content. It's the lack of having new things. They've been doing the same thing for 7 years almost? For 6 years actually? No, not 7. 2006.
Almost 16.
16, yeah. 2016, jeez. But yeah, you see a lot of people it's the same thing every day. Hold M1 on generators and chase someone around the same rock loop. But I mean, there's always something new to do. There's plenty of perks in the game, right? I think
for me, so it kind of sounds like you're saying like creating your own fun is definitely a big part of Dead by Daylight.
To enjoy the game, yeah. Sorry.
Okay, cool. No, that's good. I just am one of those people that clears. I just clear up and have a concise answer once you've said all your stuff. That's all.
Make
your
your own
summary, bringing it back.
Make your own fun. The game is as fun as you make it. If you're gonna sit down and you're gonna sit on gens and or sit under hooks as killer. Yeah, I mean, that's your fun. If that's your fun, that's your fun. It's as fun as you make it.
Dead by Daylight is basically a bowl of Nutrigrain. You only get out what you put in. Is the slogan.
Exactly.
The slogan?
The slogan.
The slogan?
Oh dear.
What about you, Blue? What do you reckon? Like, I guess there's lots of highs and lows. What would you say your like one of the funnest moments you've had in the game would be?
I think one of my funnest moments would be swiffing with friends. Like swiffing with friends and messing around. I like to practice moonwalking a lot. So
Okay,
I will moonwalk around the map and meme with friends and do head nodders and just silly things and mess around. I think the important thing to remember with DBD is it is a game, and then try not to take it too seriously and not like just have fun with it. Don't always feel like you have to escape. Don't feel like you always have to get the 4K. Just enjoy the journey, have fun, and if you are someone that is serious and wants to win the whole time, just look at what you can improve on bit by bit, and just enjoy your journey. I think that's the most important thing. The most fun I've had is always when I've been messing around with yourself or Drunx or anyone else that I play with, is just like when you meme with a killer and you'll do something like a head-on game, like Drunxy said, and you can like do 4 head-ons and go to a certain locker location and just have fun with it. Just, it doesn't...
I guess not taking it too seriously, like you said. It's just remembering it's a game and just being able to have a bit more fun, and just it's not the end of the world. It's not the be all and end all. If things don't go right, there's always another game afterwards.
That's exactly it. There's always another game afterwards, and it's if you stress yourself out and get angry or upset, it's why would you play the game if that's what it does to you?
Yeah, for sure. No, I think that's really good advice. I just thought maybe there's some people that randomly stumbled upon podcast, or maybe are checking it out for the first time and they're only just getting into the game. So it's cool to know you guys have put thousands of hours in. I've put thousands of hours in. Like, it's good to know from people that have been playing the game for a while, what you can expect and how to have fun. We're not here to tell you how to have fun, or we're not telling each other how to have fun, but it can be good to know that there are other people out there that maybe struggle sometimes and create their own fun. So I appreciate you guys giving that advice.
Can
now to perfectly,
can I butt in and add on to what Blue said about having fun in the game?
Do that.
I'm someone who's guilty, and I've had some salty moments at the end of games, but one of the best advices that people always tell me whenever I'm salty, Kryptonite Queen is one of them to tell me this, is there's always other games, and you're going to forget about it in the next game, and you can play, you can sit there and hold a grudge for as long as you want, but by the next game you're already sitting there going, oh, I forget what happened last game, or you'll eventually get over it. You will get over it. You will, like, the salt is natural, but it'll wash off.
Yeah, exactly. Have a shower and get the sweat off you and the salt, and you'll be fine.
No joke. No.
And there's another person on the other end. That's the main thing I would say. For me, like, if someone asked me the question, I would obviously say to have fun, enjoy the journey of your games, and don't base it all on just the outcome, but also to just remember that there's another person on the other side of things. So if you do get frustrated, that's completely fine. If you do get upset, that is also completely fine. But remember, there's another person just like you that's sitting on the other side of the desk, or on their Switch, on their console, whatever it might be, and they're also just trying to have some fun and play some games. Just remember that when you're about to type a message, calling someone out for doing something that you didn't like, or for getting frustrated, just remember that. And yeah, like you've both said, just move on to another game and don't take it too seriously. Speaking of, though, it's kind of a perfect segue, because we're all talking about how to not take the game super seriously and maybe have a little bit more fun. And now we're going to go into a Q&A chat about where we talk about the game super seriously and talk about all the stuff that's happened in the past week. that the developers talked about. So directly contradicting ourselves right this second. But yeah, let's get into the Dead by Daylight talk and start talking about this. So every couple of months, I'd probably say there's a Q&A, question and answer for those that don't know, developer kind of chat where they get the most popular voted questions from the forum, from I think maybe even their Twitch chat sometime, but mostly Twitter, and the most upvoted stuff gets asked on the stream, and then they usually have I think the lead game designer, Patrick, they had Peanuts this time, one of the community managers, and they had Justin, like I think one of the lead marketing people in charge of events and things like that. And they answered a whole bunch of questions and kind of gave us a little insight onto where they are at the game and issues that are arising, which is really good because we do crave transparency in gaming these days. We want to know exactly what's going on. So we just got a bunch of notes here from the stuff that we kind of all thought was interesting. And then, of course, as we do at the end of every week, we go through the weekly shrine. There are actually more days this time to go and get the shrine perks, unlike the last podcast when I brought it out and the shrine was ending in like one day. The first thing they changed, I guess, is the easiest thing to talk about. The grade BP is being increased. So instead of 250,000 for Iridescent 1 on both Killer and Survivor, so a total of 500,000, you'll now get 1 million blood points if you get to Iridescent 1 for both sides. So a possible 2 million blood points every month. I'll throw it to you guys. Like, this is obviously a good change. Do you guys have anything, like, I guess, to comment on this?
Well,
pretty straightforward, but
I think it's pretty straightforward, but I also feel it's kind of needed in the current state of the game. With there being so many perks and so many characters in the game, the fact that they're going to potentially reward you 2 million blood points definitely helps for newer people or even older people to catch up on having all those perks and prestiging everyone if they really want it. So I think it's a good change, and I think it was kind of needed.
Yep.
yeah,
I agree. Drunks, what about you?
It's also really nice because 1 million BP isn't, that's not really a small number. When you play, I guess like the easiest way to say it is like when you play Killer, you can play how many hours of Killer do you reckon you play before you reach a cap, like the 1 million blood point cap? From
I can tell you
minimum.
from a literal literal world record blood point thing that I got.
True.
It took me between 4 and 4.5 hours.
And that
playing
was
Killer
that
games
was playing hardcore,
get
like that was
1
cakes
million.
and
yeah, that was with cakes and everything. So I think what they said is it takes about 13 games to get 1 million blood points.
Yeah.
So yeah, continue on with what you're saying.
13 games is a couple of hours, right? It's not a short time, really. I mean, it's not a long time either. But 1 million blood points is great and then that'll probably get a lot more people into playing Killer, playing both sides, And the rank rewards, the rank rewards already probably did that, but now it's a more juicier reward. 1 million BP isn't something you just shake your finger at.
Yeah, and we're thinking about it at the top end as well. So this is Iridescent on both Killer and Survivor, which can be a bit of a grind if you don't play that often. For us, it's probably not too bad, but for the person that comes home and plays an hour, 2 hours every night when they come home from work or something like that. School, yeah, exactly. It can be a bit of a grind. So the good thing is you don't just, like, the top end is obviously great, 1 million, but even now when you get to like gold or something like that, you're still going to be getting more blood points than you were total for the previous way that it was. So it's good. It's a good change for everyone. As you said, hopefully it does encourage more people playing both sides, because there is definitely there's 4 survivors to 1 killer, so there's always going to be more survivors. But killers are dropping off like flies because the game is the state that it is. So if you can give someone an incentive to potentially play a bit more of the other side and give it a crack, then I think it's a good thing to do. And blood points is definitely the best way to do it.
Yeah,
as Blue said, to catch up and catch up or all perks that person or get some new perks that have come out or something like that.
Yeah, or if a new killer comes out and you want to try them out, to have that introduction of a million points for every recap can really help you get into that new killer too. So, or survivor. So yeah, I definitely think it's great quality of life change that they're bringing in.
Yeah, I agree. It was definitely needed, and there's not, as I said, there's not too much more to say about it, other than that we're all pretty pleased. The community is pretty pleased as a whole. I probably would struggle to find a single person that's upset about getting more blood points at the end of the month.
Does the rank rewards go over the BP cap, correct?
Yeah. So any points that are given extra from the developers or the game itself will always go over the BP cap. So if you're sitting on 1 million blood points and then the end of the month comes for iridescent both, then you'll be on you'll have 3 million blood points to spend.
So you can probably say that there'll be people that'll be banking a lot of blood points for just challenging themselves to bank up like 10 million blood points, and I don't know.
Yeah, you can't earn blood points.
You can't earn, but you can
once you do. But if you wanted to, you could definitely play a whole entire month and not earn any blood points. And then at the end, you get your rank reward or your grade reward, and then you go up to 5 million blood points or something like that, or any codes that you enter. You could definitely do that. And then if you really wanted to, you could bank them for when, like Blue was saying, when a new killer came out. I think the Ringu is the next one that's coming out in March sometime, and you could potentially bank up all the points for putting in. You're going to be wasting a lot of points over that time.
Yeah, no joke.
If you really wanted to, I'm sure that could be a thing. They did talk about kind of the blood point cap, and they didn't say why they still have it, but they were talking about potentially. They're always looking at it, so maybe it's a thing that'll end up being taken away. But as far as it stands at the moment, it does keep people spending their points and not being able to just rack up all of their blood points and then have really strong perks when a new killer comes out. So I do think the cap is okay at the moment, because imagine if you did have 10 million blood points and you could fully deck out your new killer when the killer comes out, and then you've got people trying to learn how to play against this killer, and you're running the top tier meta build, and it's going to be really hard for you to. The fun part of a new killer is that going against those people that have the one yellow perk, or they're doing the adept or something like that, rather than being like, okay, cool, I'm going against Ruin Undying for a barbecue, or whatever, Dead Man's Switch, whatever the new meta stuff is. It's like, cool, so I'm just going against a different skin of a killer, but I'm going against the same build. That's my personal opinion on the cap. I don't know if you guys have any other opinions on the cap.
I did read something a couple of months ago, I think, like when probably even a year ago, like a bit after I started playing, and people were saying that they have the cap. Like, this isn't true. I'm not saying this is true, but like I remember reading something about them having the cap to have people play the game, so that when a new killer or a new chapter comes out, they can't just spend the blood points and leave. Like, they then just drop the game for another 3 months, 4 months. Like, they actually have to play the game to earn the blood points to put into those characters to unlock their perks, or to play, like, to get the most out of that character. Yeah.
I think they did say. I think they actually have said that.
So that might
that definitely is true.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Maybe they didn't directly say it, but I feel like they've said something along the lines of that, because it is true. Like, I don't understand the point of doing that. Why would you just put points in and then not play again for the next time? But
yeah, true, exactly.
Yeah, it definitely is part of the reason why they do it. I believe they've said it is to keep people playing the game, because not only it keeps the population up, but people are gonna be able to continue to play against a new killer rather than playing against the same kind of stuff. Do you have any thoughts on it, Blue, or is it just like a bit of a null point for you?
I think it's kind of a null point. I think you both kind of covered it all already.
Okay, cool. Well, we can move on to the first pretty big change of, well, depending on how you look at it, a pretty big change for boons. Or for a boon. So Circle of Healing has been changed to 75% at the top healing speed, so the tier 3 perk. So that's down from 100%. So it works 65, 70, and 75% at tier 3. So they were finding that Circle of Healing was too strong. It was being, having multiple people that could have boons, them being able to light them up in multiple parts of the map, and then basically heal wherever you wanted to at will. It was becoming a bit oppressive for killers, so they've dulled that down a little bit, no pun intended, about the dulling of that one. But they said they're going to further monitor boons, and they're always going to attack boons separately. So they're not going to just do a blanket boon nerf, which is good because they all have different effects. So they're going to look at them as their separate own perks, which I think is a good thing. In my personal opinion, I don't use the boons. They don't impact me too much when I play killer. But I probably don't come up against them or realize that I'm going up against them as often as I do, because I just go, oh, that person healed. Like, I don't think oh, that person healed really fast or anything. So I don't know. Do you guys have stronger opinions on that? It's oppressive and it's been there for a bit, but 75% isn't even too much. So is it too little? Is it too much? What are your kind of thoughts on it?
If I may go first, in my opinion, in my opinion, Circle of Healing was like this. I don't think the speed of Circle of Healing is the problem. I find whenever I go against a lot of boons, sometimes I'll come across and I'll see a boon and be like, when did they boon? I didn't hear it. Sometimes I feel like there's no audio file to it. I don't know if it's just me like being ignorant or anything, like just being an idiot, just playing around, holding W and ignoring everything around me. But sometimes I feel like I don't hear it go down. But I don't.
It definitely doesn't make the noise sometimes.
Sometimes,
you can be kind of confused. Like, it can kind of get overshadowed by, like, if you hook someone and then you're running away and then the boon goes off, you're still hearing the survivor scream or something like that. There's a lot of noises going on, so I've definitely missed a boon going up.
That, and also when they boon a hex totem, it's just a boon sound. You don't hear the hex being destroyed. I don't think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think the healing speed is the problem with Circle of Healing. I think it's just how often they can just put it down and how much of a waste of time it is to just snuff it. I like half the time I won't even bother with a boon, just because 10 seconds later they're gonna start booting it and then take 18 seconds to boon it again, and by the time that they've already done that, I'm on the other side of the map hooking someone, and there's no reason for me to go back and snuff it out again.
Yeah.
I feel like, I mean, like, I don't know if I'm just, I don't know if my opinions are really that good, but I feel like it should just have like a cooldown on it after it's been snuffed, so that way the killer would have a reason to snuff it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean the cooldown is.
We've got perks that have cooldowns, such that, like, I mean, Red Herring, for example. Red Herring has a cooldown on it. Like, you can't keep using Red Herring over and over again. And it's,
such a random perk to go for.
I mean,
on the cooldown.
It's a random perk. No one really uses it, But it has a cooldown. Why does it have a cooldown, but Circle of Healing doesn't? And at the same time, Circle of Healing, I'd rather us 4 Circle of Healings than 4 Shadow Steps, in my opinion.
yeah, definitely. Being able to heal wherever you kind of at 4 different places around the map is obviously very strong. Cooldown is definitely one of the ones that's looked at. I know another one is a token system, which I talked about initially when the boons first came out, of maybe having 3 tokens and you can only do it so many times, or the killer simply being able to break the boon totem, which would also kind of marry with Pentimento as well. So you're also creating a situation where survivors have to actually be careful if they're going to boon things, because a killer can just break the totem, then they can also use Pentimento to rebuild the totem for their own perk, which I would have no problem with. So I like the whole give and take and the risk versus reward type gameplay that they want to instill. and implement in DBDs. I don't know, maybe that's a thought.
It should be back and forth. It's a balanced game is back and forth, right? Like tennis, it's back and forth. I don't know.
I think one.
All we want to do is be able to play DVD and tennis and DVD. Okay, behavior. That's all we want.
I think.
Now, what were you going to say, Blue?
I was going to say maybe one other change they could do is make it that boons only affect the level they're on rather than a giant sphere. So
true.
For a map like Midwich, where you have a double floors, if you boon on the second floor, it shouldn't affect the first floor and vice versa, because a lot of the time you can hear a boon above you, but the time spent to go up there to snuff it out just isn't worth it. So if they could change something like that, might also make it feel a bit less oppressive. But yeah, I think the 75% change isn't a huge change. And
I think it's a seconds. People have been saying like 1.6 seconds or something. It's like
literally
change
instead of 8
and...
seconds, it's like 10 or something. It's not a huge change. I think it's definitely better that it is a change in that direction than.
Yeah, I guess. Do we agree that it probably needs nerfing? Like I'd say it needs to be looked at for sure, and I'm glad they've done something, like you said, Blue, and it's a good step.
I think
that they're doing it.
It's definitely a good step in the right direction, because it does, from a survivor's point of view, if you're swiffing and one person has circular healing and they tell the team where it's going to be, it kind of enables the other 3 survivors to bring whatever perks they want, right? And then effectively have 5 perks. And I feel so it's very strong from a survivor's point of view, especially if you're swiffing. And then from the killer's point of view, depending on where it's set up, it can just be super oppressive, to the point where you either just accept that they have the boon, or you just got to accept it's there, or just try and outplay even though it's up the whole time. So yeah. It's,
I think most of the time I do just accept that the boon's there. I just accept that they're going to be able to heal faster, and depending on what killer I'm playing, sometimes it won't have an impact. But people know I'm a bit of a Wraith lover, and if I was playing a hit and run style of Wraith, and I knew they had a boon, then I just wouldn't do that. Like I would either, as you said, try and get rid of the boon and see if they'll keep coming back to it. Or I would just have to play around it and be like, well, I'm just going to kill them around the boon and then hook them on the boon, then they can't reboon it. You just got to change out your playstyle maybe a little bit. So again, this can cause frustration on both sides, but when you're playing 4v1, you've got an asymmetrical game. There's always going to be one side that's a little better than the other. So it's good. It's a good change, and I'm glad that they're monitoring the boons just like any other perks. But as I said, I'm also glad that they're not just thinking of boons as a whole. They're doing the same thing that they do with hexes, where if Ruin was oppressive, they've changed Ruin. If Undying is oppressive, changed Undying. They haven't just gone, well, hexes suck or boons are too strong. Let's dull them all down. Change all the powers for the boons. I mean, Exponential is pretty bad at the moment with some new stuff that's going on, but that's a free for another time. There's another big change that they're potentially looking into. Now, this isn't confirmed. The question was asked: do you see any chance of Borrowed Time or Decisive Strike becoming base kit for survivors? And the answer that was given was, there are currently no plans for Decisive Strike to become base kit. With a little smirk from Patrick, the lead game developer. If you have watched the video and seen it, you can definitely tell he's got a little smirk on his face. So this usually would allude that the one that they've missed out, which is Borrowed Time, is being looked at to becoming base kit for survivors. Now, explicitly, they didn't say it, but any good FBI analysts out there, I'm sure, would be able to look at the way he said it and his facial expression, and it would point to the fact that BT or Borrowed Time is potentially in the works, or they're looking at it to become Borrowed Time to become base kit for survivors. So this is huge. This is absolutely insane. Blue, kind of, what do you think of that? That's that's pretty incredible, isn't it? That's basically a free perk for survivors.
I think the changes they already did to BT with like recently in the past was already amazing, and then never mind the fact they're thinking of making it base skit. I think it's going to be very, very strong, and it's going to free up a lot of free up a perk slot for a lot of people to change up their playstyle. So I think it's a.
Is it needed though? That's the thing. Is it? Do you think it's needed in the current way that the game?
I think if you are only a solo survivor, then I feel like it could be needed, because a lot of people when playing solo kind of tend to run a bit more selfish builds. From what I've seen. However, in a Swift environment, giving 4 people who are organized and play together like all the time that free perk slot, I feel like could be even more oppressive for killers. Especially with it, like all you need is to run 4 perks with the borrowed time now being base kit, and it's just I can see all kinds of hell breaking loose for a killer. So yeah, it's an interesting thing that they're gonna do. So yeah, potentially
it's hard, isn't it though? Because like even now, if a survivor saves me in a game and they don't have borrowed time, the killer will respect it, even if they not always, but a lot of the time, I'd say 7-8 times out of 10, a killer will respect the fact that I potentially have borrowed time. I've had a killer follow me for 16 seconds or 12 seconds or whatever, and I haven't even had borrowed time effect because the person that saved me didn't have it. They just farmed me off the hook. And I've had the killer follow me and not hit me, and I've managed to get to like a window or a pallet and save myself because the killer literally respected it. It was like when Decisive Strike, when you have to just respect, like now you just have to just respect it all the time. Or people used to respect it all the time. The fact that Decisive Strike existed in the game meant that you had to respect the fact that someone might have it. The same thing will happen with BT now. So the fact that it's base kit, or even now it's not base kit, the fact that borrowed time exists means that killers are respecting it, even when it's not. There could be until the killer knows for sure. Also, there might be no one that has it, but for the first 3 saves, if the killer's not paying attention or they are paying attention, until all the saves have been done and they realize that there's no borrowed time, that killer will think that there's borrowed time in the game, 100%.
Yeah.
Drunx, what do you kind of? I know you play. We play a lot. We all play a lot of Survivor, and you guys play a bit more kill than I do. But do you already respect? Do you do that? like, is it something that you already respect it?
So
even if you don't know what's there.
I've got notes written down for a lot of these things.
Oh, here we go.
Because but yeah, no, like it's like I think base kit borrow time would be a nice quality of life change, but like Blue said, it would open up the possibility for survivors to just absolutely take the game by storm, especially an organized Swift, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, we've all had it, right? We all play killer, all 3 of us right now, and every other killer out there. We've gone against survivors who use BT offensively instead of defensively. Someone's been unhooked and then they've blocked a doorway for 10 seconds, and it gets frustrating at that point. It's like, I don't want to tunnel you. I'm literally going after the unhook. Like, I am going out of my way not to tunnel you off hook, and these people come in. I mean, I'm not upset about that. Like, sure, use it offensively. That's whatever. But like having it base kit, I feel like that would happen so much more often.
Yeah, because you could do it every time. Like you could do it every time.
Yeah,
do it every time without
so like
hesitation.
Blue was saying, yeah, and it's
You don't have to think like, oh, is the person that's saving me? Like if you're playing solo, like you don't have to think, oh, are they going to have BT? It's like, yeah, well, it's base kit, so I don't have to worry.
For example, I versed Blue as Wraith the other day actually, and he unhooked Yunjin off of the hook, and I wanted to go after Blue after he unhooked off the hook, and then the Yunjin followed Blue, so instead of waiting at BT or getting body blocked and going around, I just smacked them, and Blue didn't have BT, but they went down like a sack of potatoes. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
oops. But like I thought
Classic
that,
Blue farming survivors.
yeah. But I like my first thought was, oh, they're using BT as like offensively, like trying to stop me from catching up to Blue. So instead of wasting time, my first instinct is to just whack the BT because it was like in between a bush and a tree, and they didn't have BT, and I felt really bad.
Yeah, I mean that's so hard because it's not no one's fault at that point. You know, you can't always be. There's only 4 perk slots, so you can't always be running borrowed time. But I think it's positive. I think it's a positive change. A lot of people would probably say, "Hey, can you separate it for if you're in a 4-person Swift? Can you make it that borrowed time isn't base kit for those games, but it's base kit for games when you're playing solo survivor?" And while yes, I agree that would probably be great, that's probably extremely difficult, if not, well, not impossible, but I would say that would be extremely difficult and frustrating to code into a game because people drop out of Swifts mid lobby, that kind of stuff. Like it's probably going to be not something that you would be able to see in the game. My kind of thought with borrowed time is that you just reduce the cooldown on it. If it's going to be base kit, instead of I think it's 12 or what is it, 12 seconds, 14 seconds,
12.
12 seconds, make it like 6 seconds or 8 seconds or something. Change it drastically enough so that yes, it will get you away from the killer for a split second or to give you a somewhat of a chance, but don't make it oppressive to the point where what you've said, Drunx, where you're able to do what you do now, where you can just block a doorway or just run around the killer's legs and annoy the shit out of them until they inevitably hit you and then you run away, or you're able to actually stop them from going for someone else, and then they go for you and then you decisive strike them, or then they get tilted, or you get tilted and get angry for pulling out tunneling or whatever. Not you, but people that do that kind of thing. I don't know. It's so hard because it is a potential thing. We're only speculating, and none of what we're saying is complaining. As we've said, we all play both sides. So, as from the killer side, I don't think I would be too frustrated because I already respect the fact that people are probably going to have borrowed time anyway. But I think reducing maybe reduce the cooldown if it's going to be base kit. Make it shorter, 6 to 8 seconds. Give them that chance, but don't make them feel like they're invincible.
Yeah, I think the change to 6 or 8 seconds would, and making it base kit would solve a lot of the people trying to be offensive with it, and just it'd be a good quality of life change at that point, as opposed to something that could potentially be oppressive for a killer. I mean,
because you don't want to scare the killers away. Like we don't want to scare killers off from playing the game.
Oh, boy.
by having that. So I definitely, yeah.
I think if they make it 6 or 8 seconds, I think it would be fine. Like the majority of the time, I normally go for the unhooker anyways, rather than the person who's just been unhooked. And I think by making it base kit, it will stop a lot of people from just tunneling. But if it's a bit of a if and in but kind of thing. There's always going to be pros and cons to it. But I think for those people who don't necessarily have a Swift, or a lot of people that they play with, having it base kit would be a really good addition.
Yeah, I think ultimately the positives, for me, in my eyes, the positives outweigh the negatives in terms of survivor side, obviously. Killer side, definitely don't see a lot of killers that if you're a killer that only plays killer, you're never gonna like this change, because there are going to be times where you do want to go for the person that's off the hook, and you want to down them quickly. And if you're going to have a forced borrowed time as base kit, it's obviously going to interrupt that plan. But I do think that it's just going to teach people to potentially play in a different way, or they're just going to, unfortunately, that's just going to become part of the game, and you're going to have to figure something out, because I can hear, people posing this and saying, well, I have no choice. Like I can't play around something that's built into the game. but there are going to be people that pick up this game for the first time, and it's never gonna. That's not gonna see. That's gonna be normal to them. That's gonna be their normal. They're playing killer, so the devs will, as despite what people think, that I think the devs will, take care if they are going to do something like this. I don't think they're just going to blatantly blow it out of the water, but they also will change it if it's bad. Did you have any other thoughts on it, Drunx, at all?
I mean, BT's BT. I feel like if a killer really wanted to tunnel someone out, like you said, they'll just wait it out. And, depending on if that survivor gets somewhere safe or not, if the killer really wants to tunnel, they'll tunnel. They won't give a crap about, they won't give a damn about BT. So, I mean,
I'm glad you made that point. That was the point. That's a point that I always make is if someone wants to kill you, they're going to kill. Like if the killer wants to kill you, they're going to kill you. If they want to tunnel you off hook, you can have a million perks and they're still going to do it.
Yeah. Just depends how you play and where you get to with the BT, I guess. Like that's what I mean by like being used offensively. Like BT's the BT should be used offensively, but it's used more offensively than not, I find.
Yeah, and I guess we can only see just what happens eventually when they decide to go ahead with it, or if they go ahead with it, or what it comes out to. But
it's out of our hands. We can just say what we want, what we think. It's up to behavior whether they do it and how they do it, what they do about it.
I guess my final thought is, yes, it's obviously going to be good for survivors, and yes, it's obviously going to be worse for killers. And unfortunately, there are more people playing survivor than there are people playing killer. Yes, you need killers to play the game as well, but they're going to. Things are always going to be, not balanced towards, but pushed more towards a survivor because there's 4 of those people that are in the game and playing the game, and the people that there's going to be more people. The cry is going to be far louder for people that are being tunneled and stuff off hook with no borrowed time involved, rather than the cry of killers that are saying there's too much borrowed time. So they're gonna listen and kind of change with whoever's the loudest, unfortunately. So I do hope they do a lot of internal testing as well, and not just kind of looking at people complaining about it. And they actually do. I would be fine without it being in the game. I'll just say that. I don't think it needs to be in the game. But I would be fine without it being in the game. So I do hope they take a lot of care before deciding put it into the game, or they do a test like the bloodlust test, and it's not a beta test. It would have to be a game-wide thing. And I hope they just take care of looking into it, and if it is something that's bad and they do introduce it, that they definitely get onto it quickly and change it up. The next thing they're looking into is Dead Hard as well. So again, another meta perk that's used a lot, seen a lot. A lot of the time 4 people will have this, just like Borrow Time. 4 people will run Dead Hard. So they're looking at 2 things with Dead Hard. So they're looking at the way the perk functions as a whole. So in terms of the dash forward, so that's for me, I'd say the design side of things is dashing forward and getting that extra distance. And they're also looking into the technical side of things. So that's the hit rejection, and you basically being able to actually dodge that hit with the that frame that it gives you of invulnerability. So I personally, Dead Hard is probably my favorite perk in the entire game, just because I love being chased and I love the potential it gives you in a chase to extend that chase a little bit. What do you guys think of this change? If they haven't given a lot of information, but what would you kind of think they're potentially looking at in terms of the distance or the technical side of things?
For Dead Hard, I don't feel like I have too much of an opinion on it. I kind of want to see what happens and then I'll judge it from there. Mostly because I am the most consistent person at hitting my dead hard button late. So I don't know if there's any change that's gonna save me from hitting the button slowly. So I don't really have too many opinions on it.
You just need to download an auto dead harder then, I guess.
I guess so.
What about you, Drunx? Do you have any initial thoughts? Obviously, this is very, very early.
For both sides, like
change.
Survivor and Killer.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it's all right on Survivor side. It's always going to be alright on Survivor side. I mean, you can press it now and you don't get exhausted on the ground anymore. That's great. But I feel like as Killer, when I'm playing like Hillbilly or something, and someone dead hards and it just stops your saw, I feel like that's an issue, and I hope that that's what they're looking into with the
technical side.
The technical side, yeah.
I mean that's something that I've never thought about because I don't really play that much Billy, but yeah.
And it's not that difficult to press E on your keyboard, right? Like everybody has dead hard. Everyone can press E on their keyboard. It's not a very high skill. It's not very low. It's like a very low skill ceiling perk.
I feel slightly attacked by that.
I'm sorry, Blue. We love you.
He already struggles with it, and now you're saying it's very low skills.
Yeah.
Come on,
E. Just the E. Yeah. But I've said before, like a few times before, like I'm not so afraid of people with dead hard. Most of the time, most killers are waiting it out nowadays. Anyway, I wait it out.
You kind of respect it, even if you don't know what's in the game.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
You still kind of respect
BT,
it, right?
The whole placebo BT effect, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm more afraid of like survivors who know what they're doing with sprint burst. Like imagine 4 survivors who know what they're doing with sprint burst. 4 survivors 99ing their sprint burst, or sprint making it look like they're in the middle of nowhere, but then sprint bursting, like use sprint burst to surprise the killer, or you use sprint burst to get to a safer loop or a safer area.
Yeah,
that's scary. That's what I'm scared about. Like I'm like, oh look, there's an innocent little Meg in the middle of nowhere on Ray's yard. Zoom, she gets to a long wall, like a long. Yep.
Yeah. Now she's in a strong spot. Cool.
Yeah. Exactly.
I guess I kind of tell you guys what I have thought about. Obviously, again, very early. This is again like the end game, the start game collapse or whatever the early game changes they were looking at. They kind of introduced those, and then people were asking about them again, and they were like, "This is why we don't like talking about things." But I have no problem with them talking about stuff like this, like base kit BT or dead hard changes, and then them not coming into the game. I would rather have things to talk about and speculate with, and then knowing that they're actually looking at things, rather than being like, well, what are they working on? So my thoughts so far is on the design side of things, that removing the dash forward this is obviously just kind of my thoughts. So potentially I think they might look at removing the extra distance, and if you dead hard, you just stand still and you dodge the attack, and then you can start running again. Yeah. So like, how you said with Billy, when you chainsaw someone, your chainsaw stops. Essentially it would stop the movement for the survivor. So no more dead harding close to around a corner and then, getting to a pallet or something. It's literally like dead hard, dodge the attack, continue running in some form, or force you to walk or something like that. That's kind of what my thoughts are, potentially, that they could change. I feel like that would make the perk less. It would make me want to use the perk less, if that was the case, because I like using it for the little bit of extra distance, even just to waste the killer's time dead harding into the corner of the map when they're chasing you or something. And then on the technical side of things, I feel like they're looking at they've already looked at it a little bit, changing the way the blood and the VFX happens, so it doesn't feel as punishing for like a dead hard verification hit. It doesn't actually feel like you hit them as much, like survivor not screaming, that kind of thing. But I feel like they're maybe looking at the technical side of things, where again it kind of plays into the distance thing, where like if you get if you dodge the dead hard hit, like you stop moving for a second, essentially almost becoming like hindered, and then you can keep moving. So like you would effectively dodge the hit, but then it comes down to what do they like? What is their purpose for dead hard? Is their purpose for dead hard to be a perk that it helps you dodge a hit and then continue on to another area or potentially to save yourself? Or do they want dead hard to be, I dodged an attack and then I go down and then I go down very quickly afterwards? Like that, it all comes down to what they want the perk and what they want from the perk. Because if they want it to just be a dodge and attack, then they'll get rid of the movement. They'll kind of get rid of the movement on it, and you'll just essentially waste a little more time for the killer by being able to dodge that attack. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah, I'm seeing it.
Does?
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, is there any ideas that you got, like that you have, Blue? I guess, what you would think they might change, or is it kind of similar along the lines of what I said?
I think if they change too much with Dead Hard, it's going to be a perk that's not going to be used all that much. Like,
yeah,
I can kill it. Yeah, I feel like it would probably kill it off, because the whole thing with Dead Hard is that little extra distance with the potential to dodge a hit, right? So
yeah.
I think if they change it too much, you'll see more people swapping back to sprint bursting and 99ing sprint bursts or running lithe. I think you'll see a decline in Dead Hard if they change it too much, because I feel like it's such a staple in a lot of people's builds that if they mess around too much with it, it might just stop being used all in general.
Yeah, for sure.
But
I definitely agree.
I feel like if they turn it into like you tank a hit, then it's kind of more like a Metal a Man. I feel like there's other perks either way, right? That that would be similar to how they could potentially change it. So I don't know how to feel.
I was thinking another thing I thought was potentially if you did tank the hit, you went into deep wound status. Every time if you hit a successful dead hard, whether you get the distance still or not, you actually go into deep wound as well, because then you actually have something else as a survivor that you have to worry about with mending, and that can potentially help the killer try and track you down a little bit more, or you've got something else you got to think about doing rather than just being able to run around freely. I don't know.
I think that
that's something they'll think about.
I think that would work as long as you don't get like the normal. If sprint you get burst. Like no extra speed from it. They can just carry on at normal speed, but then get deep wounds. It'll be pretty interesting.
What about you, Drunx? Do you have any like thoughts design wise, or are you just kind of like Blue said, kind of just waiting to see what they say?
Yeah, I'll wait until
you happily wait.
I'll happily wait. I personally I don't have a problem with it. I see 4 dead hards in a lobby more often than not, and it's just kind of something I've just learned to live with.
Yep. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. There's no right or wrong answer, so just interesting that they're looking at it. And they did talk. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
Like what Blue said though, it's like if they do change it, I don't want them to change it too much. I still want it to be a useful perk, but I like if they find a way to change it enough that any exhaustion perk will become viable. I mean, then that'd be great. I guess that's what we all want. We all want that.
We want different.
But I honestly I don't know how. I wouldn't have a clue. I'm not gonna act like I do either.
Well, let's just be excited for a potential change, or to kind of see what they come up with in the next couple of months. They give us any more info. They had a bit of talk about skill-based matchmaking, as they normally do. So no change to skill-based matchmaking as a whole is kind of the gist. Again, we won't go in depth under every single thing. But they, I guess there was some stuff with skill-based matchmaking that people weren't too happy with, thinking it a lot of people, it's not functioning correctly. It doesn't. Some games you go against players that feel like they're very new to the game, and then some games you go against people that feel like they've played this game their whole entire life. What did you guys? I guess there was a hockey analogy made about the way like skill, I guess, translates into the game because of hooks and things like that. Drunx, I'll ask you what are your kind of thoughts on, I guess, skill-based matchmaking? Just a short little thought about it and how the way it is at the moment.
I feel like like with a lot of people, I don't think it belongs in DVD. And if they do have it in DVD, they need, it might not work, but they need a separate playlist. And I don't know.
No, that's all good. It's just one of those things where it's been speculated on, and we probably won't even talk about it that much. But the reason people were upset, seemed to be upset, was Patrick, the lead developer, basically. People are saying why are hooks not counted as part of the skill-based side of things, when why are only kills? You can get kills super cheesily and super cheaply, i.e. camping a hook with Bubba, or camping a hook with Infinite Tier 3 Michael, things like that. Why do hooks not count as part of being skillful? Because you can kill people over 12 hooks or 11 hooks, 10 hooks, that's more skillful. Or if you don't kill anyone but you still get 10 hooks, or sorry, you get like 8 hooks and everyone's on death hook, that's still skillful compared to just camping one person and getting one kill. And his analogy was that they don't count shots on goals in hockey. They only count wins. So on the table, you're top of the leaderboard because you've got the most wins, not because you've got the most shots on goal. The direct counter to that was Deaxz made a video, and in his video, he talked about how that was a bad analogy. I think True Talent also talked about how hooks are actually, essentially, in terms of the hockey analogy, hooks are actually goals, because your goal as a killer is to get people onto the hook. So each time you get a survivor onto the hook, that is technically, if you want to use a sporting reference still, that's technically a goal, because that's one step closer to them being dead. But then again, if you want to do it to the hockey analogy, if you score 3 goals and then you win the game, that's the same as getting 3 hooks and then you winning the game because that person died. So we can all agree that it wasn't a very good analogy, and it kind of confused a lot of people and made it seem like the developers don't really have a kind of clue into what skill-based matchmaking is, or if it even has a place in Dead by Daylight. And it's hard to say, because what is skill, in a game with so much randomness and RNG? I don't think I even have the mental capacity to continue to talk about skill-based matchmaking stuff, because it's just incredibly frustrating. I think the actual skill-based matchmaking side of it, like, not the actual part that's frustrating, it's mostly the fact that the people that create this game or work on the game seem to not, they don't seem to have some of a clue of kind of how matches play out and what actually is skillful, or what is a good play and a bad play. Blue, do you have anything kind of like to add to that at all?
No, I don't have anything to add to it, really.
No, that's all good. We'll just go over that again. I just don't want to talk about it too much, because I feel like skill-based matchmaking is talked about every week on the podcast. But it's still not good. It's still not in a good place. It's still frustrating. It depending on what time of day you play can depend on the games you get anyway. So the skill-based matchmaking doesn't even come into it at sometimes, because there's not enough killers or there's not enough survivors anyway. Another thing they talked about is the perk system, and someone asked if they were going to remove perk tiers. They are not going to be removing the perk tiers, so level 1, 2, and 3. They do have something else in mind, but they didn't say what. They basically stated they don't want to have a band-aid fix of removing the perk tiers and then needing to change the system again once more perks come in. I did watch True Talent react to the Q&A as well, and he said someone did the maths and it would probably take about 10 years for the perks to become as oppressive as they are now if they removed 2/3 of the grind, so the 1 and 2 tier of the perk. So he didn't really understand why they said it was a band-aid fix, because is Dead by Daylight even going to exist in 10 years? Who actually knows? Not many games last the 5-6 years that DBD has lasted, to be honest. So it is impressive that they're still going and creating all this new content, especially for a 4v1 like asymmetrical game. The Call of Duties and stuff, they pump out new ones every year, so it makes sense. But as a franchise and as Dead by Daylight as a game, it is impressive that they're still going. Will they be going in 10 years? I don't think so. But yeah, they're coming up with something else. Do you guys have any ideas for what they could do? Because they are looking at the prestige system and perk tier removal, not perk tier removal, but something to stop the grind. The grind is something that people have been complaining about a lot. Do you guys have any ideas of what you would do to kind of like change the grind up, maybe?
I mean, I've had this discussion of like perk tiers of Deaxz before, and I've had it with multiple other people, with the whole tier system. But I don't know. I had an idea of like a system where when you prestige a character, you get a cosmetic. That's all you get. And a lot of people just they don't want to prestige. There's no reason for them to prestige, right? So what I that I was talking to someone about, I forget who I was talking to about it, but a couple of weeks ago, I was talking to someone and they were saying instead of just getting a cosmetic for prestiging, what if they made it so like if you prestige once, or once you prestige once, you're always guaranteed at least tier 2 of perks in your blood weapon instead of tier 1. And so, continues on until, like, you prestige 3. And then when you prestige 3, then you're always guaranteed tier 3 of every perk, So, so they don't remove perk tiers completely, but at least they reward you for prestiging. And it's not like the perk tiers are gone for, if you don't prestige,
Yeah,
I thought that was a nice little thing to think of, because, lately it's like when I prestige, like I'm a completionist, so I'm gonna prestige everyone, and I've already seen that you and Blue have already got prestige 3 all your survivors.
I'm 2 survivors away from all perks.
2 survivors from
all survivors. Wow. And all prestige.
And what? That's Jonah and Michaela, or
no? I forgot Jonah and Elodie left.
Jonah and Elodie. Wow.
Yep.
I've got like 22 more survivors to go for all perks, but I'm getting there. But I definitely like Drunxy's idea where you get a bit more reward for prestiging, because currently there's no reward for prestiging, but it would also help to get rid of the grind of like needing something. I think something ridiculous of 18 million blood points. To get one survivor from level 1 to P350 all perks. It's somewhere from like 16 million plus blood points per survivor.
What do you mean, Blue? That's only 8 months of Eerie 8 months of Eerie on both Killer and Survivor with the new grade reward.
True.
That means it only takes 8 months to do one survivor. That's not a grind.
Yeah, you're right. There's only 29 survivors.
Sorry. Not to mention, killers aren't just reskins. Killers all have different powers and different speeds, and killers are unique. Trying to get killers to all perks is, there's more of a reason to get all perks on killers, on multiple killers. Whereas on Survivor, if you really wanted to, you could only just P3 all perks one survivor and just play the game forever. You could just do Dwight. Yeah,
just Dwight. He's the best boy.
Just Dwight. Dwight boy, best boy. Dwight and Blight.
That's me. But yeah, no, like it's as you say, survivors are just reskins. I think the only thing that gets affected for the majority of it is like how tall the character design, and if you're moonwalking, moonwalking, moonwalking.
That's moonwalking in the water.
Like I
Yeah.
think it's,
Moonwatering.
I think that's like the only real changes on a survivor side. Like Drunxy said, it's probably better to do it all on the killer side and getting them all perked because you do have different play styles with killer. But yeah, I feel like current tiers, it just feels like it takes forever. Even with like even though I've got 3,000 hours in the game, I'm still. I still feel like I'm not even halfway through the grind to get all my survivors to all perks. Never mind getting all the killers to P350 all perks. You know, so I think it would be a nice change.
3,500 hours.
Yeah.
And I've only just completed one side, like pretty much, the survivor side. Haven't not even close to killers. So yeah, definitely agree.
But it's another 16 million in 2 months' time. New survivor. Only
Exactly,
8 more months.
so-
Only 8 more months of rank resets.
Yep.
As you said.
Perfect. It's fine.
You got this easy peasy.
Exactly. I wouldn't mind seeing the perks removed. Wait, no.
The perks
not perks
removed.
removed completely.
Yes,
Just
no
remove the
perks
perks. That
anymore.
removes all the grind. Easy done. But taking away the perk tiers, I'm excited to see what they have in mind. Look, it's an early days thing, so
I trust them.
they don't have a lot of information to give us, which is okay. I think it's okay. We'll talk a little bit more about transparency and stuff at the end, but I think it's okay to not have much in mind, but at least they're working on it. One thing they have said throughout this is just because it's hard and just because it's tricky to do, it doesn't mean they're not working on it, which was good to know. Because a lot of the time you think, well, it's a hard thing for them to do, so they're just not working. They had some killer data as well. We were talking about this a little bit before we started recording when we were trying to get all the audio, the audio right. Basically, they posted a bunch of killer data, pick rates and kill rates. Nurse is the one that averages just under 2 kills per game and is the strongest killer in the game, apparently. And for this was for a 1 month, December to January, or middle of December to middle of January. And Cenobite, so the latest killer that had been released, and the artist, the other one as well. The artist had a very high pick rate, 6% of all killers picked were the artist in that time. But that's because Drunx was saying, she's the new killer that just came out. Most killers average 2 kills per game, and then Huntress was the one that actually got picked the most, which was pretty surprising. But she's a base, she's included in the game for free, so it makes sense. These stats kind of don't tell us anything, and they're pretty useless. So I don't really think there's any point talking about them. I'll link them in the podcast description if you guys want to take a look at them for yourself. Did you guys find anything interesting with the stats, or it's just kind of a bunch of meaningless data?
I'm still kind of like stuck on the what was it? We don't know if that's 50% of a game or if they 4K 50% of the time. Like, do they get 2 kills in most games, or do they 4K 50% of the time? I still think that's pretty relevant. Like, I mean, if you know DBD, you probably know that they're probably talking about 2 kills a game. Sorry if
I did go back and check. I went back and checked, and they did say this is the average kill rate.
Okay,
So average kill rate, I guess, would be if you killed 20. If your average kill rate was 25%, then you would kill. That would be 1 person.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 average of it from their data. Their game is working exactly as intended. Most of the time, the killer gets 2 kills, and most of the time, 2 survivors will escape, and that's what they aim for. So, if you looked at this data without any other information, then you would
be lost.
You would be looking at this and you would be thinking like, oh, if they told you, oh, so we want 2 people to survive and 2 people to escape. 2 people to die and 2 people to escape. Then you would look at this data and be like, wow, you guys are doing well. Your game is really balanced and everything's looking real good for you. But then in reality, you would be like, well, why do you have the strongest killer nurse as getting the least amount of kills compared to any other killer? But she's also picked 5% of the time. That doesn't make any sense. Does that mean that she's bad, or does that mean she's hard? And then it's them going, well, she is hard to master, but the people that are at high level, really, really good with her. So then do people not play her at a higher level games, or it's all just very confusing. So I will make sure I put it in the description so that people can see what we're talking about. But
I think the thing that stands out the most for me on the killer data is how little twins is picked, and the fact that
was the thing, wasn't it?
Yeah. That is.
What was the percent? What's the percent again?
1.1. Yeah, 1.15%. And yeah, I don't know. It's just amazing.
So that means, like, I guess stats wise, if you played 100 games, out of those 100 games, you're gonna average going against 1 twin or 1 twin.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I mean,
all right, guys.
In a perfect world, yeah.
It's 0 actually.
Sorry. No, I apologize.
But no, we want to see more killers being used. This is just the kind of data that we see, which I'm all for them taking data, but it doesn't really show us or help us understand, a lot of what's going on in the game. Hopefully, it helps them because we're just the people playing the game. They're the people making it. Again, I'm always an optimist, so I will put my belief and hope in the fact that they know what they're doing. But we'll just move on from that. Ghostface, they confirmed that Ghostface and Legion do have major reworks coming soon. TM. They are actually they're actually in the works right now. So they've just, on the day of the Q&A, he said that they had just been passed very recently. Patrick, that is, said that they were passed and are able to be tested and kind of all looked at going forward. So that's exciting. Some of the technically the Ghostface that we go against in our region seem to be pretty good, especially certain one of them. But Legions are, suffer from stabbing people over and over again and then not getting many kills. So it's cool to see some reworks coming from those guys. Are you excited? Are you guys excited for these ones?
I'm excited to see a Legion rework. I'm excited. I hope to be excited to go against the Legion because I know Legion is basically an M1 killer, and M1 killers are some of the most fun killers to get into chase of, right? I hope I'm not the only one to think that, but yeah.
With Legion getting into chases, because he's M1.
M1, yeah.
Yeah, because he can mostly take advantage of those killers the most when they can't stop you from looping.
True. Shh. No.
Now, I have no idea what kind of rework they're looking at. I'm not even going to speculate at this point because I'm not creative enough in my mind to figure out kind of what they might change because they're major reworks. So the last major rework we saw was Freddy, wasn't it? Where they fully changed the way he functioned with the pallets and the blood pools and stuff. So, and he's kind of been nerfed a lot since then, and the changes. So, hopefully, Ghostface and Legion being changed brings them up a level and stronger, and we might see more of them. The one thing with Legion, I know a lot of people get frustrated with, is just the fact that his power is not very fun to go against. So, hopefully, they can come up with a more fun power. I would love to see the fact that Legion is 4 different people or 4 different personalities, kind of. I would love to see the lore come into that maybe and be more of like a teleporting around the map kind of killer or something like that with your different like Susie and Julie and that kind of thing. But yeah, I guess we won't speculate too much. Did you have any idea on that, Blue, at all? Or just excited to see maybe some other killers become more viable.
I'm excited to see what they have planned for Legion. I think it would be cool. I don't know why they're changing Ghostface. I feel like he's in a pretty good spot, but yeah, definitely excited to see how they're going to change Legion around and Ghosty and see what they bring soon. TM.
I hope that with Ghostface they just change the way that his it works to break him out of his power. They just make that more consistent. If make it more consistent on both sides, because I know that people get frustrated on both sides with feeling that they're broken out of their power when they're in the middle of, of basically inside of a box that no one can see them. But then as a survivor, you're looking straight into his soul and you're not breaking him out of his power. So it's interesting, and just good to know that they are doing some major reworks and changing up some killers. We'll take a little break from the serious kind of stuff, and we can talk about the lunar event that's on at the moment. That's been a lot of fun. Have you guys been enjoying that? Running around collecting the envelopes and getting all the blood points?
It's been fun running around getting envelopes and then being smacked while you're trying to get them. You're like, please, I want it. You can't have it, killer. And the killer's like, no, mine. So the bit of competition for the envelopes is a bit of fun. Adds a bit to the normal running around of being chased or holding in one on a Jenny. So yeah, I'm enjoying it, and I think some of the new cosmetics they're pretty cool. I'm liking the event and the actual visual update of when you get an item now telling you how many out of 10 you've got is a really nice addition too. So I'm enjoying the event.
Oh yeah, I really enjoy the DVD events. I don't think I have any problems with them. I think my most favorite part about the event so far has been seeing my envelope on the other side of the map, running to it, and realizing someone else has taken it, and it's like, yep.
Yeah, I feel that. I sprint. I just hold sprint down and go to my envelope as soon as I spawn in, and then I get halfway across the map, and then I see the little sparkles around my character. And it's generous soul, and I'm like, cool. So someone got my envelope before I got to open it. And then, you look at another one and it gets highlighted on the map and you're like, I'll go over there. And then someone takes it right. The killer's over there taking it right in front of you. And you're like, cool. So not only did I not get an envelope, now I'm also standing right in front of the killer in the middle of nowhere. So my game's off to a flying start. But no, I agree. The cosmetics are really cool. There's a nice balance of cosmetics for killer and survivor. There's some cool charms. And it's been cool having a little addition. All the generators, with the fireworks and the perks with the the hooks with the fireworks. Yeah, it's really cool. And then obviously we all love getting some firecrackers and absolutely failing firecracker flashlight saves every time we go for them. I don't know about you guys, but I am terrible with the timing of the firecrackers.
I'm absolutely terrible with firecrackers and flashies, so I try to avoid them and give them away.
I've been fortunate enough to practice enough with flashbangs.
So very nice. So it's the same kind of thing.
I'm mostly sure it's the same timing, but I've not really gone for them since. I'm not sure. I got a trailer that I got a bunch of flashbang saves in, but I haven't tried for one, so yeah. I mean, they're fun. They're fun either way. You get to the exit gate, and you're all getting all in those last second heals, and the silly little
fireworks popping off.
The cute little Nia runs up to you all innocently and drops firecrackers in your face and runs out, and you're blind. And
that literally happened to us last night, didn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're wondering what we're talking about in the game at the moment, if you're listening to this as the recording comes out, there is a lunar event going on, Year of the Tiger, I believe, and you can basically get some envelope offerings in your blood web. You can play those, and they give you extra blood points. They give you some extra if you open an envelope and then another survivor takes your envelope, then you get a cool cosmetic. There's 10 cosmetics / charms that are in the game at the moment. And as Blue said, it's a cool little way break up the game. It means that a lot of the time you're seeing the generators aren't really going as fast because survivors are running to their envelopes at the start of the game and they're not just jumping on a gen straight away. So I feel like it's slowed games down quite a bit. So maybe this is the start game collapse that they're maybe they're actually testing a way to slow down the start of the game.
That's actually another thing that you brought up is the envelope offering. It changed from last year because last year the envelope only, like, if someone played an envelope, it would spawn a lunar gen and a lunar hook. Yep. But now it's every gen and every hook is lunar, so you're not missing out on those blood points, and you're also getting extra for the envelopes. I feel like it's a good change. I mean, I
think they wanted to make it more
minimal,
fun. Yeah. Like, well, let's have them on everything because the whole point of the event is to have
fireworks,
the fun fireworks and stuff. And the cool thing was they actually let you use your old offerings if you had them from previous lunar events. You could they basically turned into the new ones. That was kind of cool because I had some randomly on a killer and I hadn't played killer yet, and I was like, how do I have these? And it was from a previous lunar event in over.
I think it was Blue I was watching last night, and he was putting points into one of his survivors, and he got he was collecting the firecracker. He wanted one firecracker, one toolbox, and one envelope in each of his survivors. And he got one of each, and he checked his offerings, and he saw that he already had 9 from last year.
Yeah, it was crazy. I don't know if it was intentional or not, but I noticed while I was spending my blood points last night that they were putting one of each event item in every blood web, which I don't think they've done in the past.
So, no, they haven't done that.
So I think that was a really cool thing that they added in. Because it saves kind of that RNG blood web on if you're going to get that item or not. So, yeah.
100%. Yeah. The blood web actually got a cool little change as well. If you guys noticed, the sounds in the blood web are a little bit different now. A little bit more meaty, I would say. It just feels like a little bit more scary.
Ominous.
Yeah, a bit more ominous.
More ominous. That's a good word. It's a great word.
English.
It's a cool little quality of life change. We'll head straight back into the the rest of the notes. We're almost done through that, and then we'll go through the shrine. They're working on the survivor and hex locations. So basically, when you spawn into a match, being right next to a gen or a hex totem, they are looking into this. This is the thing that they said, just because it's tricky doesn't mean we aren't working on it. It takes time. Unfortunately, there's a whole different thing, whole bunch of stuff that comes into play when you change the rules to where a hex can spawn and a survivor can spawn, because that means it becomes potentially easier to rule out where a hex totem isn't going to be, or where the killer will be when you start, or where the survivor will be when you start, depending on these different rules and stuff. So again, it's one of those things that's tricky for them to get right, but they are looking into it, which is good, because we've all played killer before and spawned into the match and had our totem gone instantly because the survivor spawns on top of it. And we've all been those people that spawn on a gen where there's 4 people on the one gen at the start of the game.
This could also be this could also tie in with the whole start game collapse. Imagine spawning in as killer and being able to choose where your totem spawns, knowing where you spawn, but and being able to choose a hex location. I don't know. Maybe it might be too strong because the killer would be able to figure out really quickly and easily where survivors spawn, and I don't know.
Well, True Talent did I was watching True's reaction to the Q&A stream, and he did say the one way to basically completely cut this out and have survivors stop spawning on hexes is that the killer has to light their own hex at the start of the match, just like survivors have to light the boons. So if you're running Ruin and Undying, the first one that you light potentially is Undying, and then the next one that you light is Ruin, or the first time you find a totem, you light it, and then another totem lights up if you're running Ruin and Undying. or just the first totem that you light, it lights all of your hexes across the map. So that way you at least you wait 10 seconds because you're like, well, if a survivor spawns right near a totem, I don't want them to get it straight away. Maybe the survivor runs away from that totem, then you light your totems, and it can kind of cut away from that. So potentially something that they're working on. But yeah, there's only limited space on the map.
It could deceive the survivors too. Like, how many times have you touched tapped a gen at the start of the match to figure out if there's ruin or not? If there's
every single game that I spawn into.
Exactly. If there's a bit of delay before ruin actually spawns in, the survivors aren't going to know instantly that there's ruin, and they're not going to start totem hunting as soon as they get it. They touch a gen. I don't know.
That's true.
I mean, I'm not
they
one
did
to
talk
run
about
hexes a lot, so.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, again, they're looking into it, which is good. They're looking at cheating as well. Cheaters suck, is what they said, and you can all agree on that. They've remained pretty silent on cheating. As you guys would know if you follow along with Twitter and the community stuff, they haven't brought up a lot of cheating stuff. This isn't because they're not working on it. Basically, every time you work on people cheating in a game, the more you give to the community and the cheaters about the vulnerabilities that you've fixed, they know exactly where to look to exploit or continue to try and develop cheats and kind of like, exploits for the game in those spots. So this is something that they said they don't want to release too much information on it, and just let us know that they are working on it. There is also apparently another anti-cheat, or they're working on anti-cheat software to be more consistent and actually work more favorably for the game. However, they do realize that there is stuff in game that needs to be done on their side. I mean, this is amazing to hear. Can't tell you the amount of cheaters I've gone against. Subtle cheaters, obvious ones. We went against one the other day that was a ghost face throwing hatchets. And I know Blue had the time of his life in that game and he thought it was hilarious. But if you go against that 10 times in one night, it's very frustrating. Once in a while it can be pretty funny, but it's really good. What do you guys think?
I think fixing cheaters and it's always welcome. Even subtle cheats like walls, just knowing where totems spawn. I don't know. It's a difficult job, but good on them.
Yeah,
I think it's good that they're not they're saying they're working on it without giving too much details. Like you said, it definitely. It's nice to hear that they're working on it because, as you said, if you're going against it constantly, it's really annoying, especially if it's subtle cheats and it's harder to tell if the person's cheating. I think those kind of cheats are a lot more annoying to go against than the random tier 3 Myers that insta tier 3 and like stabs you because you're just like, okay, I'm on to the next game. Or the ghost face with hatchets, like that kind of stuff's a bit comical, but if you're going against it the whole time, it's never going to be fun. So I think it's good that they're working on it.
The Myers that picks you up and drops you from the sky to the exit gate.
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing when that happens, but how often is a cheater going to be Mimi or do that kind of stuff?
Yeah, exactly. Most of the time they're doing it to ruin your game. I mean, I can tell you that this the update they just did, the mid-chapter patch, did have some stuff working on vulnerabilities for cheats and people. I don't like to call it hacking because they're not that advanced. They're not hackers. Takes skill to hack something. Cheating takes no skill. You're just buying a program. So there's cheating still in the game, 100%. Because I can tell you, in the last 2 days, I've gone against like 3 cheaters that were using very subtle cheats that I could tell. They were just moving too quickly, and they were doing things too quickly that didn't kind of mash up with the perks that they were using. But unfortunately, I think the more they work on the cheats in game, the more subtle the cheats are going to become, and it's going to be harder to tell. But yeah, like we've all said, it's really good that they're working on it, and it's really good that they're trying to stamp it out, because cheating's never fun in any game, whether it's
No.
a game in real life or game of Monopoly. No one wants someone cheating in Monopoly. That's it just takes away all the fun in the game, and same thing happens when you're playing a video game. Cheating's fun, if you're using cheats in like Grand Theft Auto or something, born in all the low gravity and all the punching a pedestrian and they fly across the map. That's funny, but you don't want that kind of stuff in a skillful game like Dead by Daylight.
First time I came across a cheater, it was a thing that was moving just a little bit faster. So it was, and it looked funny because I was just watching her, and when she was running, her feet, she kind of looked like she was on ice skates. Like her
Really?
her animation didn't match up to the speed she was running. I don't know.
Yeah.
And the fact that
I've seen that.
survivors, I knew that she was cheating too, because the other survivors in the game, like, were in end game chat, and they were literally saying she literally touched gens and they finished them in their face. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, yep.
That's the hard thing about being another survivor in the game when someone else is cheating as well, is
Yeah.
hard, because it can be funny and you want to join in and beam around a bit, but then a lot of the time that kill is just like, this is the worst, like, this is so frustrating, the worst, and now the other people are joining in, and just the more they can get rid of it, the better.
Killers just can't do anything if a survivor's hacking. Like, if a survivor has like infinite DS or infinite heal, like, how many times have you seen like a killer like whack a survivor, and then a survivor goes down and gets straight back up before they've even finished the blade clean animation? Like, killers can't do anything about that. And if survivors are just taking games hostage, like, what does the killer do? Like, you're either forced to DC or just sit there through it. Like, I don't know, it's not fair.
Very not fun.
Another time,
the
like,
worst thing I've seen is a 3-minute head-on stun from a hacker, where the killer's just stuck in a locker and can't move.
So that's a DC for me. I'll take the 5.
I'll take the 5.
But yeah,
So it's not fair.
It's not fair on either side.
One thing,
if you're another survivor in that game, then that's fun either.
One thing that I've started to look at is up the ante. If you're in a survivor game with like randoms and there's up the ante, I feel like I'm always cautious of it being a hacker, because the last times I've been in a game with a hacking survivor, there's always been up the ante, and then when you get to the end game screen, none of the survivors have up the ante. It's like,
okay,
because like it's like it's the increased luck perk from Ace, and it has a little blue icon in the bottom right next to your perks when you're being affected by it. And I've got a clip from one of my friends, what we played together, and we have up the ante. Then we get into the post game lobby, and none of the survivors have up the ante. And I don't
keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, that's something that I learned to look at. And
there you go. Keep an eye out for that, everyone.
But don't always assume it. Don't always assume it. Like, I don't know.
So you have to say from MrDrunx, if someone's running up the ante, you have to accuse them of cheating.
Yep, that's
and
me,
you have to report them.
Come to me about that. Nah, seriously, it's just, I don't know. It was weird. I don't know.
Good. Cheaters, I'm gonna go one step further than what the dev said. Fuck cheaters.
Fuck the cheaters. Have fun. Have fun. Don't make the game unfun for anyone on purpose. Like,
it just ruins the game for other people. So
exactly.
Don't cheat.
Another thing they're looking at, so gen timing and slowdown meta is being talked about currently. Whatever that means. Again, there's not a lot of information that we can kind of give you or talk about too much with a lot of these things. But hey, they're not going to be slow down the timing, how long it takes to get a gen done, they said, but they are going to be looking at timing in general and slow down meta on both sides. They are looking at both killer and survivor sides. See whatever that means. They were asked about new game modes. No, but there is always a chance. Wink was the answer. So keep that as a no for now. But there's always a chance for stuff to come out. They revealed a little bit more about the solo queue stuff fact that they're working on it still, and they had someone had a mock up of some 5 things, like if the person's working on a generator, if they're saving, if they're running, that kind of thing. They do want more forum feedback though, so if you are in the forums and you're active, jump on the DBD forums and give them some positive and constructive feedback about solo queue. Don't just rip into them; it doesn't help anyone. Because it might be able to increase the game and keep it at a better level for people that are playing solo, and you would be on a generator and that your survivor teammate is going to save, or vice versa. So that's pretty cool. They confirmed that the Realm Beyond is still ongoing. And we got a little teaser maybe that Red Forest, the next map or realm to be being changed. We also have the Haddonfield offering that is disabled at the moment. Apparently, that's been leaked that the Haddonfield offering is disabled at the moment because that's also going to be the next and one of the next realms that's changed and updated as well. So that's pretty exciting to see what that will look like and if that will be changed to be a bit more friendly to killers rather than survivors. There is some updates and changes based on the in-house stats. So again, the information that they get is through thousands of games that they look at. They also take information from the forums, so they're basically just communicating the reason that they do some of these updates and changes is because of their own data and because of community feedback. I've written feedback/uproar because it in both ways they do combine and kind of contribute to how the devs and people that make the game make the changes. So basically, in conclusion, with the Q&A, lots of soons and maybes. So there was no real timeline on a lot of things. For me, I took away that the community seemed quite annoyed and disgruntled. However, they are still getting information and they are being transparent. They're maybe just not getting the information as fast or in the way that they want. We asked for transparency and we seem to get it in doses, but we are not satisfied. And when I say we, I mean the Dead by Daylight community. Mostly the DBD Twitter community is quite vocal. I don't go on the forums as much, so I can't really say about that. Do you guys have any thoughts? Transparency is a huge thing in gaming these days, and for me, I feel like Dead by Daylight in the last year has become they've gotten very good at being transparent, and they give us a lot of information. But I also feel like they give a lot of information that people don't like and don't agree with, and people then discredit the fact that they are being transparent and they just get angry. What do you guys kind of think? Do you guys feel like they're transparent enough with the information they give us?
To other games, I feel like no. I feel like I'm not sure. I can't really give a good example, but I feel like.
So if no, what more would you want?
I'd like more guarantees on changes. I'd like them to. I mean, it's tricky because as a game developer with such an old game with such a community, I don't think that they want to give promises they can't keep or have ideas and say things that might take could take 6 months to come into the game, for example. But I'm not sure.
Would you want to hear about that? Would you want?
I'd
if
like
they
to
had
hear
something
about that.
6 months down the pipe. Would you want to be would you want to hear that?
I would.
6 months away, or would you want to hear it 3 months away?
I'd like to hear about it. I'd like to hear about it pretty early, because I feel like a lot of things get released into the PTB, and then they just put on the PTB, and if they're OP, overpowered or just broken, or they break the game, buggy, then they fix that, but they don't do anything else from the PTB to the live server, I find. But So I feel like if they do release things and let us know about things a lot more earlier, maybe they'll have a lot more chance to get some community feedback, and then they can work on it more. But other than that, I'm not 100% sure. Hey, I feel like
that's actually a good point. Like the earlier they do tell us about stuff, the more they can get feedback. The only problem with that is that a lot of the time, like in this Q&A, they don't have an idea or an outlook on what they're actually doing. Like with the Legion changes, they've told us that there's going to be a Legion and Ghostface rework.
It's just planned.
We can give feedback, but they haven't told us Legion's new power is he does cartwheels around the map and kicks survivors in the face. Like we don't know that for sure. So we can't, if they told us, we're thinking about, we are reworking Legion, here's the power that we have in mind. Then people would give their feedback. But then if that power didn't come into the game and people got sold and fell in love and, sold on the idea of that power, and then it was changed and didn't come into the game, then you open up a whole nother, side of things where then people feel hard done by because they had this really cool idea that they really liked, and then they changed it. That you know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. But that's why there's such thing as work in progress. Things can change before initial release, before full release, and testing and betas, and I don't know. I mean, yeah, people will like it, and some people will dislike it, and some people will be happy, some people won't be happy before it's released or changed, and
there's no right or wrong answer about whether they're transparent or not. Like it's just simply
sorry.
No. Like it's just simply wanting to. It's good to know and get feedback from other people, because in my eyes, I think that they are pretty transparent, and like Dead by Daylight, it's one of the only games that I really play at the moment that has ongoing development all the time. So in my experience, they are, when I used to play Overwatch used to be really good with their updates and give a lot of information in the patch notes, and have their regular developer updates and things like that. And I feel like Dead by Daylight is slowly getting to that stage where they have the Q&As, they have the developer updates, they're going to have their roadmaps for the new year. And then, I feel like they're definitely better than they were a year ago. Could they be more transparent? Maybe. Could they give us better information? Yes, I definitely agree with you that they could give us better information. But in raw transparency, they definitely share a lot with us. But do they, as I was saying, do they share the information that we actually care about? Is the real question. So, I guess, Blue, what do you think? Kind of thing, like, do you pay attention to the stuff that gets posted, or are you mostly just bumping on, playing the game, and then pretty sure we all tell you what's going on anyway?
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't really follow much on the forums or the Twitter. I'm pretty slack with it, so I just hop on and play the game. But I can see, or from what you've been saying, like, I like the fact that they're being more transparent and they're giving us more information. But I also see it from the company's point of sight, like behavior's point of sight, that if they're too transparent with everything they do, it can cause ripples down the line where people are expecting things that don't come to fruition, and if they're giving like a prediction for their work board for the year, and then they don't manage to get it out at that certain point in time, how it could cause issues by being too transparent. So I like the fact that they are transparent and they are telling us more, but I don't know, from behavior's point of side, how transparent do you want to be with absolutely everything? So I think they like you said, it sounds like they're getting into a lot better spot, but I don't really have much input to put into it, I guess, because I don't really follow the forums or the Twitter or the Q&As as closely as I should.
Again, it's completely understandable. Like, not everyone has to follow it along. Obviously, I follow it along because I have the podcast that I try and record and keep you guys informed, and Drunx and I have our chats, and Drunks loves the information, the stats, and everything, and learning about it and staying informed. So again, there's no right. There's not bad or good that you do it or that you don't do it. It's just interesting hearing 3 different perspectives where we all kind of agree. Then there's a little bit of give and take and a little bit of difference and nuance in our kind of thoughts, which is good because this is what I see. I do see this in the community and on Twitter and other content creators, and I just think that people need to realize they just need to be a little bit more appreciative, in my eyes, of the information that we do get given, because companies don't have to give you any information at all. They don't have to tell you. They don't have to do not weekly. They don't have to do Q&As. They don't have to do developer updates. There are games out there that have been pretty successful that have regularly just done things in their game. People just accept it and play the game, and maybe they get annoyed, maybe they don't, but I feel like people definitely take for granted and are way too harsh on the developers, sometimes for good reasons and sometimes for not good reason. I just think people need to just treat them better. Realize that there are people working on this game all the time, and it's not up to them on if you're developing skins, it's not up to you whether the company is transparent and tells about the skins that you're working on. You're just the artist that's working on the stuff, so it can probably be tough to see all these people getting frustrated about stuff that's out of your control. Did you have any final thoughts on the transparency stuff, Drunks?
I mean, after hearing you guys talk about it, they have been super transparent with us. They, as much as they can be, probably as much as the higher ups allow.
Yeah.
Sure. I mean, and they're giving us a lot more than like what we are. Yeah. I mean, like telling us that they've got a Legion and Ghostface rework in the books, like they didn't have to do that, obviously. So
yeah, exactly. And this isn't me going, if you don't want more from the devs, like, no way. Everyone wants, what they want and has their own expectations. But I think people just need to meet their expectations, because there's such a stark contrast between people that don't care at all and couldn't give two flying cares about having the developers do a Q&A, and then there's the people that are out there hanging out on the edge of their seats every couple of months or whatever it might be for the dev updates or the patch notes. I'm always waiting before the patch comes out for the patch notes to just scroll through them and read every little thing and kind of understand it, so I know exactly what I'm going into. But I'm I'm dedicated and I'm pretty involved player with the game, whereas it all just comes naturally to Blue. I don't even need to read the patch.
Yeah,
I just learn.
I'm just like, I go with the flow, and if the game changes and it's like real big, I normally get to hear about it from you or Drunksy or whoever is more informed. So I just get to meme around and moonwalk. So I'll focus on that.
All right, well, let's talk about the last thing. Let's talk about the shrine for this week. I always like getting the opinion of my guests on the shrine and the perks that are in there. So we'll run through these ones quickly. So in the shrine this week for Survivor, we have Balanced Landing and Tenacity. And then for the Killer, we have Hangman's Trick and Corrupt Intervention. So 2 perks here from the Saw characters, so Pig and Detective Tap. And then we've got just some other perks. So I don't know if one of you wanted to start off with Balanced Landing. If you got, I think Drunks, you Balanced Landing.
I run Balanced Landing in our hardcore Survivor.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah, I ran it quite a bit there, and I really enjoyed it. But it is very map dependent. Like It is. I mean, it's sprint burst, but activated from a fall, and you don't lose. You don't stumble. You don't. What's it called?
Don't get staggered.
You don't
Don't
get
stagger.
staggered. That's it. You get it's reduced by 75%. Sorry, I'm just reading it now.
That's
It
all good.
was very useful, especially if I was doing like a gen on a hill, near a hill, or if I was in chase. It was really nice to just fall off a hill, or but on maps like on sheltered woods, it was very difficult to
Yeah,
use.
you can't use it.
You could use it like on a basement stairs, and that was about it. That was but it's a very nice perk. A lot of killers don't expect survivors to really run it because it's not a very popular exhaustion perk, unlike Lithe, Sprint Burst, and Dead Hard, obviously.
Yeah, for sure. So just to recap, so it reduces the stagger duration by 75%. It suppresses the grunts of exertion from falling, so you make no noise when you fall down. And then you get the sprint burst when you drop from a high place for that 3 seconds. So it is really cool. It is a good perk. If you are running it and you position yourself in a good position, so top of Coal Tower or up the top level of a house or something like that, you know that if the killer comes, you can just climb out a window or jump off a ledge and use that balance landing to kind of zip away. And I think it's a perk where if you use it correctly, use it to your advantage, it's really, really good. It does belong to Nia, who has Urban Evasion and Streetwise. Probably not the best perks to get, but Nia is free. So I would say if you are looking for a good exhaustion perk, possibly grab this. But if you have spare points lying around, just put them into the Nia and unlock balance landing. Anyway, and Streetwise can be good with items and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't know. Do you have any thoughts, Blue? Is it worth getting in the shrine, or is it probably worth just leveling up Nia for it?
I think if you got spare shards, it's always great to get the majority of the perks from the shrine. If you have the shards around, I think it's a fun perk. Especially, I don't know, but for me, the majority of the time when I've run Balanced Landing, I've actually run it with Dead Hard at the same time, for like tome challenges.
Okay.
And half of the time, when doing that, I just used it for the stagger duration, like the reduced stagger from jumping out of windows and stuff. I think it can be and I feel like it's a very underrated exhaustion perk. Like the majority of people expect, or the majority of killers, I should say, expect a Dead Hard, expect Sprint Burst or Lithe. So you don't always expect someone to have Balanced Landing unless they purposely run up a hill to jump off and get away from you. So I think it's definitely a perk if you want to catch people by surprise. It's definitely one to pick up.
There you go. That's a resounding. You should grab it from the shrine then, because Nia's not got the greatest other perks. So maybe you jump in and grab that if you've got the shards. You probably would have got shards anyway. If you haven't checked, jump onto your account. If you played Leatherface before the mid-chapter update, then you got a 6,000 shards for free, as they took away the mask that we talked about last podcast. So make sure you double check that. The other perk for Survivor is Tenacity. So this is a detective tap perk. So you're able to crawl 50% faster and also recover at the same time. What about you, Blue? Do you think this one's worth grabbing, picking up?
I've never really used Tenacity. I've seen it used a lot, but I've never really used it. I think it's great if you're running it with other perks like Flip Flop or Power Struggle or Unbreakable, stuff like that, or even the new boon. If you like those kind of crawl away and get up second chance kind of perks, I think it'd be pretty good. Me personally, I wouldn't get it, but
Me, I would say buy the character. Buy Detective Tap if you have a little bit of money or a little bit of cells lying around or something. Because he has Detective's Hunch as well. I was going to call it Detective Taps. He has Detective Hunch, Tenacity, and the other one?
Stakeout.
Stakeout, which is horrible, but yeah. He's got two decent perks, so...
I'm going to argue with you on Stakeout. I think it's great.
Is it really?
Yeah. You get free great skill checks. Like, why wouldn't you want that? Especially
because I already hit my great skill checks.
Okay, maybe it's just because I'm skill check challenged that I love Stakeout for anytime there's a tome where you need to hit great skill checks. It's great just to stalk the killer a bit and then go and get your great skill checks for free. So that's just.
I thought you were going to challenge me and say that going out to a restaurant and having a stakeout is actually quite good. That's why you were. That's why you were challenging me on it.
Damn, I should have thought of that.
What about you, Drunx? Any thoughts on this one?
I think it's
not the steak at the restaurant, the perk.
Oh, you invited me out to dinner, Deaxy, eh?
Yeah.
Tenacity is a fun perk. I don't really see it used in any really serious situations, except for like you said, like certain builds around it. But it's fun, especially if you get like a fun killer and you surprise everyone with the slug race, and you end up going 50% quicker, and then all of a sudden you're unbreakable out and just run out. It's a fun perk. I personally, you wouldn't see it in any like actual meta proper builds, but it's fun. I always have fun, and it's in the I'm pretty sure both Tenacity and Hangman's Trick are in the tome at the moment, or is it only Hangman's? So
I'm not too sure. I haven't looked ahead.
Hangman's, there's a challenge in a tome at the moment, and you have to sacrifice survivors while using the perk Hangman's Trick. But we'll get around to that.
There you go. Well, then another resounding grab of Tenacity if you've got the shards lying around. Bit of a fun perk and can be actually quite useful for losing the killer on the ground or something, falling away.
Especially if you have a laggy connection and
you
disappear and
zoom halfway across the map.
I've definitely lost my fair share of slugs when they have Tenacity. So, yeah.
How you avoid that, Blue? You just stop being Slugmandark.
Wow, I'm not Slugmandark. Okay, I'm bad at keeping track of my slugs. Is all I'm saying.
The other perk, as Drunxy just mentioned, is Hangman's Trick. This is for killer. So you gain a loud noise notification when a survivor begins sabotaging a hook. And while carrying a survivor, you see the aura of any survivors within 2, 4, or 6 meters of the hook. Look, I'm a bit afraid to say this perk's terrible now because I feel like Blue's going to jump down on my throat and just tell me that it's actually good. No, I think this perk is pretty bad. I would not be grabbing this from the shrine. That's all I'm going to say.
It definitely needs some love, but I would save my shards for another shrine or anything else in a shrine.
Well, I think it's absolutely not worth it.
There we go.
It's look, it definitely needs some love. Definitely not one worth picking up, other than if you need it for the tome.
Maybe if they change it to if you're running Hangman's Trick and a survivor sabotages a hook within 6 meters of you, the survivor gets injured. maybe they prick themselves on the hook, and then that would actually be worth running.
The hook falls on their head.
Me in the development team. Yeah, exactly. All right, devs, I currently am available to be hired. I can help you with perks. All right. It's all right. If you want to be a completionist and do the tome, then grab it for the tome. Yeah, maybe just grab Pig instead. Pig's pretty fun to play, so go for the good character. She's got some cosmetics in the tome and the rift as well. So yeah, we don't need to talk about that anymore. The last perk is Corrupt Intervention, which is a fantastic perk. At the start of the trial, the 3 generators located farthest from you are blocked by the entity for 120 seconds. For anyone out there, that is 2 whole minutes. This is also great for 2 reasons. You obviously get the generators blocked for 2 seconds. And sorry, for 2 minutes.
2 seconds.
The generator is blocked for 2 minutes, so this slows down the start of the game, as most of the time survivors will spawn the furthest away from you. This also helps you track down survivors, and actually the box as well, I think. Pinhead, isn't it? Using Corrupt can help you locate where the box is compared to where the survivors spawned. I think it got discovered, but essentially it not only blocks the generators, but it also helps you discover and kind of you can force yourself into a direction of finding survivors maybe more quickly than if you weren't running Corrupt. What are your guys' thoughts, Drunxy?
2 minutes is so valuable at the start of a trial, especially if you're playing like a setup killer like Trapper, Hag. No, sorry. But
I agree.
What killer's Hag? Blue Main's Hag, right?
Blue Main's Hag, yeah.
Blue Man Hag?
No. We don't mention that word around here, okay?
Sorry.
But honestly, just as a general perk, I find it great. I run it on my Huntress, I run it on Blight. I run yeah. It's a very good perk, because a lot of the time when survivors spawn on a generator, they're just gonna get right onto it. And you're gonna get into one chase of the survivor, and by the time you finish that chase and you get them on a hook, 2 gens are gonna pop. I find Corrupt, when I'm running Corrupt, that rarely happens. Maybe if the survivors are more efficient and more knowing what they're doing, then yeah, they'll get gens done. But I feel like Corrupt is one of the staples in all my killer builds.
Definitely agree. What about you, Blue?
I think it's a really strong perk. I use it on killers where I'm not as experienced with, because it definitely slows down that early game pressure that you get from survivors. It also sometimes it can help you if you do play around a 3-gen. Sometimes it can spawn in a nice 3-gen for you that you can play around and kind of use to your advantage. But I think the fact that it just slows down the game in the beginning and just allows you that time to find survivors and stuff just makes it an invaluable perk. So yeah, words. Sure.
I agree. Look, we've been going for 2.5 hours, so it's no surprise that we're starting to mumble up our words.
My bad.
No, Corrupt is fantastic, as you said. It's Plague perk, and Plague has Dark Devotion and Plague's other perk, Infectious. So I would honestly, I think every time Corrupt Intervention comes up, I always suggest going for Plague herself. He is a fun killer to play. Infectious is very good to use. I know a lot of skillers like to use Infectious when they play Blight.
Blue.
Excuse me, I did not do that anymore. I've corrected my ways. I'm now an agitation user instead of an Infectious, right? Thank you, Drunxy.
Equally as annoying.
I'm not annoyed. I'm just. I feel attacked. Okay, you just hating on my
because I was attacking
friends.
No, and then Dark Devotion is a bit of a meme perk, so it can be pretty fun. But yeah, if you've got the shards, go for Corrupt Intervention. Definitely the best one of the bunch.
Oh, not to mention, I have a little small thing where if I have Corrupt up and I keep looking at it over time, like watching it tick down, I judge how well I'm doing in that game depending on how many injures or downs I get before Corrupt is up too. So that's like a nice little fun, pointless thing that I like to do.
So it's fun and it's fun if you're doing well, and it's horribly upsetting if you're not doing well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I would suggest not to get in that habit.
That's a small thing I do.
It's a good way to meter how you're doing. So definitely, if you're one of those people, I think I'm the same, that likes to kind of judge where they're at throughout the game, then for sure.
And it's also great for judging if there's a Jenny done within 80 seconds. Just saying.
That's true. Yes, true.
Ouch.
We're all done. We have worked our way through everything we have this week. Hey, that's what I like hearing. Ooh, we want to keep going.
We want to keep going.
Hello.
Can we just start streaming and just stream it instead?
Yeah.
It's now a streamcast, not just a podcast.
Yeah. Here we go. Load 'em up.
Down the rabbit hole we go.
Oh, wait. Were we not meant to be streaming this whole time? Whoop.
Yeah, that's all good.
But yeah, I appreciate both of you. This is the first official time that I have had my 2 guests in the basement. So thank you guys for being the first 2 in the basement. The podcast title has finally come true. And I couldn't be happier that it was 2 of my best friends on Twitch.
Help. Please. He won't let us out.
I am camping with Insidious. Did you guys have any further, like any final comments or anything that you guys wanted to say? Also, feel free to plug your socials and your streams and everything. Drunxy?
I mean, I thank you for like letting us come in. Like it's been pretty good. I remember one of the first times you asked me to talk to me about it, and was like, I was stoked to like even be considered. So I mean, now that's finally happened, and being able to do it with Blue, it's great. It's been fun. I go live on my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/MrDrunx, MRDINUNX there. Sorry, I know my name. Yeah, don't get it wrong. I'm sorry. No, but
it'll be in the description.
It'll be in the description. Listen, it's my mouth is getting a bit. Blah, blah, blah. But no, I love you guys. You guys are some of the better people that I've the best people that I've met in the last year, that I've become part of the community. I feel like I'm like, I am accepted, and check out these 2 guys. They're absolutely amazing. Love them to bits.
Love you, Drunxy.
Oh, we love you too. Blue, where can we find you, and do you have any further final thoughts?
I think I'm just gonna copy what Drunxy said and say thank you for having me on the podcast, and the fact that I get to do it with Drunxy, I think makes it pretty special to me. So thank you both for being here and including me. For where to find me, you can find me on Twitch, and that is twitch.tv/Bluemandark. Not the guy from Dexter's Lab, no correlation, but that's where you can find me. But yes, thank you for having us. It's been a great experience and a lot of fun. So thank you for including me.
Well, thank you two for being here and getting together and being so easy to talk to, and talking to me about everything with your streaming stuff and Dead by Daylight. It's been really, really fun. As I've said throughout the podcast many times, I couldn't think of 2 people better to get together with and have as my first ever trial run or my first ever run of having three people on a podcast. And I think we did really well. It's there's a lot of different voices and a lot of different things to consider, but honestly, we absolutely smashed it. And I love you guys both, and I really, really appreciate you guys coming on the show. Make sure you guys go and check them out. The listeners at home, check them out on Twitch. They both have a bunch of socials of all of the jazz. Just go and check out their Twitch, and you can find all that information. But yeah, thank you so much, and appreciate you guys being on the show.
Thank you, Deaxz.
Thank you, Deaxz. We love you.
Wow, what a great show that was. I had so much fun, and I hope you all did too while listening along. Make sure to go and check out the absolute legends that featured with me today. And remember, don't get caught in the basement.